Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your future. This is your plan. Welcome to the Women's Wealth Symposium. It's our 7th annual event, and we are delighted to have you join us this morning. And this is our first live streamed event in history. So thank you for breaking history with us in Women's History Month today. I am Mara Feinberg Cook. I'm the founding president of Women's Wealth Symposium. We are a nonprofit 501c3 with the mission to improve women's lives through financial literacy and STEAM field awareness through an annual event that brings us together collaboratively, that creates a forum for dialogue in a friendly space put on by pro bono and volunteer professionals from both public and private spheres. So I'm really excited about this today and excited to welcome all of you live in the room and there on the web. I know we got folks coast to coast. I know we got folks internationally joining us. So let's make this the day where we celebrate women's achievements. We learn, we grow together, and we raise awareness about discrimination. And what are some best practices that we can do to overcome them? This is a modern world. We are modern people, and it's time to take a step forward because this is our future. This is our plan. There's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt that I think is so timely. It's such a good planning quote because it takes a lot of time and energy to wish and plan. So if you're taking that time to either wish or plan, we want to choose wisely. So it takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. So I'm excited to have us all here today so we can bring intention and education and upliftment to all. I have last year's notes in front of me. That's embarrassing, but I know what I'm doing. So I'm really excited. And I want to take the time first to thank those that really made today possible. We have been going grassroots for 7 years. And we started as the Women's Symposium of Southern California and have grown to be the Women's Wealth Symposium. Our investors, which are our sponsors and volunteers, are coast to coast. And this is something that we need everyone's involvement, not just the ladies in Southern California. We want you in New York. We want you in Mexico. We want you in Canada. We want you in Texas. And yes, we want you in Vegas too. So thank you for joining us today. I want to also thank the sponsors. We have Bellhaven Investments, Zacks Investments, Mass Mutual. These are major financial companies that are making strides to make sure that we could all be here today, including Feinberg Financial. It was my future. It was my plan. I left corporate America and I launched my own registered investment advisory firm 5 months ago. And it was because of folks here in the room. It was because of other Women's Symposium participants that gave me the courage to make decisions that were good for my family, my clients, and myself. Today, we can learn best practices and know-how from so many people in the room and the speakers. And we are so honored that they're here today. I also want to thank Bogarts and Amatoli. They are actually here in person in our small little group. You don't get to taste their coffee and food, but maybe next year when we're back in the ballrooms, you can. So we are so grateful and happy to support women-owned businesses. And I also want to tip the hat to Diff Mix. This is our audio-visual team, also a family pair, and with us for the second year. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. But the biggest volunteers, if you could please stand, I would be so grateful. Laura Knapp, she's actually probably in front with registration. Dr. Sherry Hu, she is our executive vice president. I also want to call out online, yes, you, Crystal Clark. Thank you for helping with our program chair. I also want to thank Elena Reinhardt. Please stand. Thank you so much. Pro Performance has helped us so much with our online marketing and website social media. Last but not least, I also want to thank Aaron Cook. This fine gentleman is mine. And I'm so grateful that you allow me the flexibility to make these strides. Being a woman, corporate America, and finance, is it easy? Some days, but mostly not. And I want to pave the way for more women to be in financial services. I want to pave the way for more women to talk about money, to talk about wealth management. It is not taboo anymore. Okay. So I want to let you know this is a safe space to ask your questions, because one of the saddest things and statistics that I've read is women don't feel confident enough in the financial decisions that they make to make the investments that they need to succeed. And so I am here today that we have plenty of people and resources in the room. And if you could just take one, two, maybe even three ideas away, you will grow, you will prosper, you can make the future you want because you will have the plan you need. I'm so excited to deliver this amazing, one of a kind grassroots event to you today. And without further ado, I want to kick us off and get us started. Master of Ceremonies today is going to be Linda Fisk. This is a hot powerhouse of a lady. Let me tell you, she is a multi-award winning keynote speaker, 3-time international best-selling TED Talk speaker, university professor, dedicated to amplifying and extending success of other high caliber individuals. She is the leader and the CEO of Leadership Global, a community of unstoppable women enhancing their leadership blueprint and embracing their power to be the best versions of themselves. Linda supports and guides ambitious and creative women to move in directions of their purpose. Prior to her role in Leadership Global, Linda was the CEO of Collective 54, a successfully growing scaling that firm acquisition. Linda forged an earlier career as entrepreneurial, forward-thinking marketing executive on the cutting edge of branding and marketing. Linda served as global head of branding and public relations and communications for the Susan G. Komen and the global head of marketing for YPO, where she developed her passion for bringing and inspiring leaders together. Linda also has a PhD and an MA in clinical psychology. She has written extensively on the subject of social comparison, depression, and anxiety, subjective well-being, and personal and applying her personal theories with a focus on relating scientific research to commonly understood concepts. Linda is interested in the psychology of influence, persuasion, and negotiation. We are honored today to have Linda as our Master of Ceremonies, and I would love to bring her up at this time.
Thank you so much. Oh, some of those are mine.
Oh, wasn't mine. There we go.
There you go.
We have similar hands.
That's... Welcome, ladies, and anyone that's waiting, come on in. You are welcome to take a seat around the table, please. Now, as you're probably going to notice, I have just about lost my voice. So thank goodness I have a microphone, but I think that it will just enhance sort of the sexiness in the room today. That's my hope, is that all of us will be able to get our sexy on as we talk about finance. And I got to tell you, today's topic is so relevant, I feel, for women all over the world. Did you know that there are billions of dollars that are transferring to women in by the year 2030? Right now, it's estimated there are $300 billion of wealth that are transferring to women all over the world by the year 2030. So it is important and timely that we begin to really manage our wealth with purpose and with intention. Now, first, I want to welcome not only all of the beautiful people in the room today, but also all of you online. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. It's exciting to have not only the phenomenal leaders that are here gathered, but also all of you that are gathered at your Zoom, at your computer, joining us to listen and learn, be inspired and motivated. So, today, we come together to celebrate Women's History Month. And I don't know if you guys have caught the theme for this year's Women's History Month, but it's all about celebrating the women who are storytellers. It's about celebrating the women who stepped out in purpose, in intention, boldly and courageously to tell their story and tell the story of other women. So, there are so many incredibly inspiring trailblazers, innovators, pioneers in media, in those people that told their stories through their books, through their podcasts, through their newspapers, through their magazines, all over the world, and began to take a stand for women's empowerment, began to take a stand to be able to tell their story unapologetically, and everything that they have gone through as a woman in leadership to be able to create change, to be able to create not just a moment, but an entire movement about their passion and their purpose. And I hope all of us catch that spark today as you listen to the incredible leaders that we have to present to you. Now, we're also presenting and honoring International Women's Day. So that's why you see the purple everywhere. Purple is this year's color for International Women's Day. That actually happens on March 8th. And International Women's Day, again, honors all of the women that stepped out boldly, courageously, in purpose when they were the first. They were the only. There weren't anyone that they could point to say, well, she did it, so I can too. These are women who stepped out and created change and positively impacted the world because they believed in their mission and their vision, and they believed and they had the courage to believe that they could do it. Now, I also want to say that this year, for the Women's Wealth Symposium, we are so honored and so lucky to have some phenomenal and influential speakers who are going to discuss topics that are not just about wealth creation and management of wealth, but the importance of mindset, the importance of courage and confidence and action to achieve your dreams and actually to intentionally plan your life. That is what I think we are capturing in honoring International Women's Day and the collection of phenomenal speakers that you're going to see today. So has Ms. Ma been able to? Okay. Yes. So a couple things before we introduce the one and only amazing Sherelle Jackson is I just want to take a moment to honor Mara. This is a little off script, but this extraordinary event is really the dream and the vision of Mara Feinberg Kuck. And she is the founder and executive director of the Women's Wealth Symposium, which was formerly the Women's Symposium of Southern California. And in my very first conversation with Mara, I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. We need to make this bigger. This needs to be global. This doesn't need to be about California. This needs to be global. Now, I'm not saying that I'm taking credit for the fact that it is now international, but I knew that what Mara was creating was bigger than just Southern California. Now, I got to tell you, I love Southern California, but I am so happy that we are now embracing women from all over the world. Mara has over 20 years experience working directly with business and money managers on Wall Street. Now, you talk about some testosterone. There is some serious testosterone on Wall Street. I've been in New York and worked on Wall Street myself. I got to tell you, there is just a handful of women, and Mara was one of them. Unbelievable. She's been featured in Fortune magazine. She's been recognized as a five-star wealth manager since 2012. She really is the torchbearer, the visionary that decided to create the Women's Symposium event to help educate and empower women about their personal finances. And as I said, there's never been a more timely conversation because by the year 2030, billions, billions of dollars of wealth are transferring to women. And women have to be ready to not just manage that wealth, but to intentionally create the vision of what they want in their lives professionally and personally. I also just want to take a moment to thank all of the Women's Symposium 2023 sponsors, including Zacks Investments, Bellhaven Investments, Mass Mutual, Feinberg Financial Management, of course, Bogart's Coffee House, Amatoli Mediterranean Bites, and the Seal Beach Chamber of Commerce. And I got to tell you, all of you, right? You took a half day off to be here with us today and to support women rising, to literally champion and advocate on behalf of women. So thank you. That is absolutely my purpose. That is my passion. And I'm so glad that I am in a room full of inspiring leaders that believe what I do, that women should be absolutely empowered and equipped to make smart, not just financial investment decisions, but all decisions in their life that affect their dreams and what they're trying to accomplish. So, with that, we are going to introduce Sherelle Jackson. And I got to tell you, I had, I'm trying to get my voice like, in its sexiest zone. I had the pleasure and privilege of having dinner last night with Sherelle Jackson. I got to tell you, this woman is a powerhouse. I mean, absolutely a powerhouse. She's not just one of the warmest, most engaging women that I've ever had the pleasure of having a one-on-one conversation with, but this woman has vision. I mean, she is creating global change. It's remarkable. She's the CEO and founder of Leadership in Heels. How cool is that? Ms. Jackson has been coined as a corporate fixer, well known for her very unconventional and custom approach. She leverages 25 years of executive experience to ignite the fire in leaders. And I got to tell you, you've got to find some time with Sherelle to hear some of those stories, some of those war stories from corporate America. Talk about inspirational, unbelievable. She's really someone who converts ambiguity into clarity. And her focus is to move from a position of fear into a position of courage. And that's really what she teaches and trains and coaches on. She moves from a position of complacency where you feel beaten down, where you feel discouraged, where you feel disempowered, to a place of excellence with incredible breakthroughs. As a chief operations officer, yeah, catch that. She was a chief operations officer, as well as a chief financial officer and a chief administrative officer for some Fortune 50 companies all over the US. She has deep experience in a whole variety of industries. Her intimate and I think incredibly innovative approach through vulnerability poses and translates windfalls, resulting in strategy, execution, operations, leadership development, profit improvement. And she has grown organizations year over year at a rate of, yep, this is true, 25%. As a comparison, most industries grow at a yearly rate of about 3%, but Sherelle has developed a sort of a way, a methodology of helping companies grow at a 25% year over year growth rate. Top line revenue from 3.5 million to over 300 million, and retaining staff at a rate of 95%, creating environment that represents truly a great place to work where everyone feels embraced. Everyone is recognized for their giftedness, they're recognized for their contributions, and they're celebrated, which I love. So today, Sherelle is going to share with us the strategies to fuel your journey to the top. And I got to tell you, you guys are in for a treat because she is not only one of the most gifted speakers I've ever known, but it comes from the heart. She is truly focused on creating transformation with other incredibly gifted leaders. With that, Sherelle Jackson.
We want to make sure everybody gets in the room. I'm tall and I don't want to trip over these wires. All right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody online. I'm so excited to be here. It's my pleasure to come to you and just share a little bit about how we can fuel ourselves and get ignited on our journey to the top. And I want to just say first and foremost, thank you so much for Tamara and the team for inviting me to join you this morning. My passion is women, and more importantly, it's leadership. And I believe, and I say this all the time, if you have one person in your life that you influence, then you're a leader. So we're all here in a state of leadership, a position of leadership, on our way to our own top, whatever that looks like. And to be clear, the top, in my opinion, has nothing to do with your job title or your economic status, but it's really living and experiencing your life at the top of your game, whatever that is. So whether you're a domestic engineer or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, whatever your choice is for your top, it's important to me that you live it out in a way that you choose. And so this morning, they've asked that I talk to you a little bit about how to position yourself to experience your life the way that you choose on the way to your top. First and foremost, I want to say, Linda, thank you for that wonderful introduction. As you stated, we had an amazing time last night. It's so amazing how God can put people together. And I appreciate you, Mara, for making that introduction. I now have a new lifetime friend and sister in leadership and personally. We're going to do a few things together. So thank you so much. So I wanted to just get started. As Linda mentioned, I've worked in a number of industries throughout my career, actually 35 years. We put 25 so I could seem a little bit younger. But the reality of it is I'm approaching, well, I am a senior citizen, but it's all good, right? It's not how you start, it's how you end up. But, I've been working in corporate America for 35 years in the area of finance and operations in a myriad of industries. But all of the industries that I worked in have been primarily male dominated, from manufacturing and distribution, construction and real estate, moving into professional services, and my last stint in a fintech. And throughout that, the journey has been tough because I've always been the one who didn't really fit in. Not only was I a girl in a room full of boys, I also was an African American girl in a room full of Caucasian individuals. And in the last industry where I spent 21 years of my career, I was the only female executive in the top 100 CPA firms in the nation as an African American. African Americans in the CPA industry make up less than 2% in the industry, and at the C-suite, I was the only one as an African American. And so you can imagine, well, I never had anybody clap about that, but hey, it's a new world, right? But you can imagine how difficult it is because in many instances, we all choose to operate in a space that makes us comfortable, right? We come to parties that we're invited by our friends. We hang out with people who are like us and who affirm us. We marry people who make us feel good. We have a tendency to do the things that make us comfortable. But as we all know, DEI is on the horizon. It's the conversation in the household and on television and in businesses. And it wasn't necessarily around when I started many years ago. And so my journey to the top was difficult. And what empowered me to want to come before people to talk about how to create an experience on your journey that's aligned with the life that you want to live is the fact that I didn't have anybody walking alongside of me, coaching me and giving me an attagirl. I had many obstacles and bumps and bruises, coupled with the fact that I was raising 3 kings in South Orange County as a single mom. And so the challenges were insurmountable. And I do believe that when we take the time to share our story and we're willing to be authentic and vulnerable, we might have an opportunity to plant a seed that could prohibit somebody else from experiencing some of the things that I've experienced. So that's our goal for today. First and foremost, what I've learned in terms of your journey to the top is that it's important that you get clear on what the top looks like for you. You know, so often we look at the top as a transaction. I want to get married or not. I want to have a great job and make X number of dollars. I want to have a house. I want to be able to have a certain type of a retirement, or I want to accomplish specific goals and objectives. But for me, when I look at the top of my game, it's about how I want to experience my life. And so my experiences for my life dictate the top of my game. When I'm living in a space where I can create impact and abundance, coupled with live a life with peace and joy, low stress and great health. That's the top of my game. And then I have an opportunity to just make all of my decisions in alignment with my top. So I would encourage each and every one of you, if you don't get any takeaway from me today, that you get clear on what the top of your game looks like. In other words, what is the destiny that you are striving for and how do you want to experience it? And then you can start to fuel yourself in order to get exactly what you want out of the life that you live. So once I got clear on that, because most of my life was transactional, I wanted to make enough money to provide for my children. I wanted to create a life and a space to create upward mobility for the team members that I had the pleasure of serving. I wanted to meet the needs of my boss and create a highly profitable organization. I wanted to have stability and confidence that I would have a place to go to work every day. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't letting other people down and disappointing them, that people liked me, and that my show up met expectations. But all of that stemmed from the fact that I actually just didn't want to experience loss because I grew up insecure. You know, the facade of what we look like can really create a perception that we have a level of confidence, when on the inside, you could literally be shrinking and dying. And that is the girl that I used to be. So, because of that, I was an overachiever and a pleaser, doing the things that I thought I needed to do in order to meet the expectations of others. And as a result of that, it did gain me a lot of upward mobility and success, notoriety in the community, but it did nothing for my soul. And so I recognized that through my journey, it really wasn't just about the accomplishments and the accolades that people tend to mention. It was really about Sherelle and who she is and how she's living her life. So as I was traveling through my career and experiencing a lot of hardship from others, coupled with a lot of wins that were celebrated by others, I found myself in a state of frustration often, in a space of ambiguity within my own emotions and my own thoughts, not aligned with the story that others were telling about me. And I realized that what does the top look like for Sherelle in terms of the story that I want others to tell about me that really is aligned with the life that I'm living and how I'm experiencing it. And it caused me to want to shift. I wanted to be in a space where I could truly just be myself. I didn't want to feel like I needed to show up and code switch because I needed to meet the expectations of the individuals in the room. I was the only girl, right? And I looked different. I talked different. I'm African American. I can remember being in a board meeting and someone telling me that what I said wasn't politically correct. Well, I'm from South Central LA. All I knew was you actually say what you mean and mean what you say. I didn't even know what politically correct meant. I mean, I thought they were telling me now I got to start lying, and that really wasn't my cadence. So the idea that I needed to transform into what other people needed me to be created a level of frustration and ambiguity. But the underlying problem that I was dealing with was fear. I was scared. I was scared that I might lose, that if I didn't do what the people that was controlling what I thought was my journey to the top, that I might not be able to accelerate. I might not be able to advance. I might not be invited to the party. And so I started to make some shifts that didn't feel authentic within myself. But the continual questioning of my experiences, in spite of the acceleration in my career, caused me to want to get right with myself first. On my journey to the top, I found that I was having conversations with individuals that were challenging my being. Not only just the fact that I needed to make sure that I was politically correct, but I remember somebody telling me that before I make any recommendations for change, I needed to tell them 3 great things about the organization. Well, I thought to myself, if my house is on fire, I don't have time to tell you, girl, you look good today, and I love that suit on you, and that purple looks great. I need everybody to grab your stuff and let's get out, because we're in a fire. I recognize that sometimes you're in a space with individuals that aren't comfortable hearing the truth. And it was very important that I was one of the women who could speak the truth to other individuals, starting with myself. So I started to shift and get comfortable being uncomfortable. In other words, it wasn't going to be easy for me to be in a space with individuals that were not like me. It was not going to be easy for me to get clear on what was important to me. But it really didn't matter if it was easy. What mattered is that the leadership that I was presenting to others was really about them. If I wanted to grow the organization, if I wanted to develop the people, if I wanted to create space and room for others on my journey to the top, I had to be honest. I had to be transparent. I needed to let someone know that, I understand that this is what we're doing, but we might want to try this alternative route because people who care about you look out for your blind spots. I needed to be in a space where I could share with other individuals, with their permission, where there were gaps and opportunities for growth. And then I also needed to be open to asking for that same feedback so that I could become a better leader. I have individuals in this room who have worked with me at my worst, when I was a terrible boss, and who have walked alongside me and ushered me into greatness to make me a better leader. And I think that it's very important on our journey to the top that we have a tribe of individuals around us that we give permission to tell the truth to us. I think that it's also exceptionally important that when we are on our journey to the top, that we get real with the life that we want to live and the experiences that we want to have. versus the transactions and the boxes that we want to check. It is critical that you understand that your top is about how you experience your life. Mental health is real. People are stressed out, headaches, heart attacks, high blood pressure, diabetes. And I had an opportunity to speak with a very close friend of mine who is in medicine and a cardiologist. 98% of the prescriptions that she writes are self-imposed. People are not getting enough rest. They don't have boundaries, don't know how to exercise the power of no. People are stressed out, overeating, not exercising, not sleeping. And as a result of that, health and wellness is at risk. What we have to remember on our journey to the top, is that boundaries are critical. Exercising the power of no and letting people know that you are not capable of doing that because you choose not to, not because you don't have the ability, but because it is not aligned with the experience that you want to have. I was a pleaser. I said yes to everybody. I said yes before you even asked. I was solving problems that people didn't even know were broken, and then had the audacity to be frustrated and angry about it. But the reality of it is I was putting too much pressure on myself and therefore was diluting my being and my effectiveness. But once I got clear on the fact that part of my journey to the top was being the best version of myself, I realized the importance of boundaries. Boundaries are critical in our life, especially if we want to have long life expectancy. In other words, you don't have to say yes to the husband or wife, the children, the friends, the boss, and the community. And it's okay. But part of being able to exercise healthy boundaries is to know that you're not that important, because it's just really not about you. You don't have to be responsible for the feelings of others. If people are disappointed and let down because you're not able to meet them where they need you to meet them at the sacrifice of yourself, and they're disappointed, it's okay. Life comes with disappointment. But when you get clear and you begin to set boundaries, align your decisions with the clarity that you have established for your life. In other words, I just moved from corporate America to entrepreneurship. One of the cadence in my life is abundance, but another one is peace. I picked up a very high-paying client that disturbed my peace. Now, I'm in conflict. Do I want to pay my bills or live my life? I chose life. But let me tell you something. I also, because my life is based on impact, every day I choose Jesus. Now, that's my personal choice. But the thought that I was going to lose out only opened the door for greater opportunities that brought in double the portion of what I lost. The bottom line is you have to begin to believe in yourself on your journey to the top. The prohibitor of your ability to move at the highest level is you. I thought about all of those people in those environments that were holding me back. Back from what? The skills that I possess, the confidence that I must have, the abilities that I have an opportunity to execute are on me. You cannot allow people to feed into your soul on your journey to the top who you are and what you will be. That is your decision every single day. So how do I start my day? With positive self-talk. In fact, I was talking to my girlfriend. Actually, she's my brother's girlfriend. But I was talking to her, and I was sharing with her that I am very selective about the conversations that I embark upon and how much time I give room to negativity. Now, everybody knows, and if you ever listen to me talk, you got 3 minutes on negativity. And I'm going to give you a timer. You at 1,059,000. Because that negativity poisons my ability to lead a life of impact. You're disturbing my thoughts. Now I'm contradictory around whether or not I can be effective. That energy is not welcome here. So know that your self-talk and your tribe play a major part in your ability to elevate your life at the highest level. Remember, these are about your choices because we've gotten clear on where we want to be. We're now aligning all of our decisions with what it is that we've gotten clear on. We have set some boundaries, and we know that we're really not responsible and as powerful as we think we are for other people's feelings. People have a right to be disappointed in us, and it's okay. Anyway, where do you want to go for dinner tonight? You could be mad at me, but go on and scoot up in this bed and let's get cozy. I mean, we don't have to draw a line in the sand and take our toys and go home because somebody didn't do what we wanted them to do. We have to understand and give people grace, but we also need to give that to ourselves. And one of the other things that I want to remind you all is that it's very, very, very important that you take time out for yourself, that you rest and you reset. Don't start the day off picking up your phone, looking on social media or checking your emails. Start the day off with yourself, whatever that looks like for you. For me, it's prayer, it's speaking with my prayer partner, it's listening to gospel music, it's setting the tone and the cadence for my day. It's looking in the mirror and saying, good morning, badass, beautiful, gorgeous. Now let's go change the world today. It's whatever it is for you to fuel yourself for your journey to the top. But your self-talk and how you start your day is important. And give yourself some rest. It's okay to say, I want to take a nap. I didn't start doing that until I hit about 54. Man, I missed out. Naps are good. I didn't take naps when I was a kid. I think because I had ADD, I was always up. And by the way, ADD is not bad. I was coined hyper when I was a kid. We didn't have medication and things like that, at least not where we lived in South Central. Nobody really cared. They were like, go stand up straight and do what you need to do. But the point that I'm trying to make is that you have to give yourself time to get to know yourself. Don't over-contribute more than what you have until your tank is empty. The fuel that you need on your journey to the top is to make sure that you do not deplete yourself to the point that you have nothing else to give to yourself, and therefore you cannot give it to others. And watch the company that you keep. People who love you will give you the time and space that you need to reset. They will remind you when you're overdoing and you're over-contributing because they want you to be the best version of yourself. On your journey to the top, the fuel that you need is to make the choice that you matter. The fuel that you need is to ensure that you're exercising boundaries. The fuel that you need is to get clear on the life that you want to live. The fuel that you need is to surround yourself with a tribe of individuals who love you enough to sacrifice the relationship to save you. And the fuel that you need is to know that your life is your choice and your destiny is up to you. Thank you.
Holy cow. Did I tell you? Holy cow. Holy cow. Wow. There's so much that Sherelle just shared that just resonated with me, and I hope it did with you too. And it reminds me of something that I have found to be so true in my own life. If you look at the time that you spend in your life, think about the 5 people that you spend your most of your time with. The 5 people that you spend the majority of your time with, that will represent your life in 5 years. The 5 people that you spend most of your time with, they represent what your life is going to look like 5 years from now. So think, am I spending my time with people who fuel me, who feed me, who lift me up, who cheer me on, who provide objective, unbiased counsel, who care for me, who want the best for me? Or am I surrounding myself with people that sabotage me, who criticize me, who demean me, who dismiss me, who in some way devalue me? Well, I got to tell you, that is a conscious choice. And so really think deeply about the 5 people you spend the most time with, and do they reflect the life that you want for yourself? Now, as you begin to make some changes, and you start surrounding yourself with leaders who lift you up, who challenge you, who absolutely believe in you, who push you into new heights and new possibilities and new opportunities, you're going to be uncomfortable. And you're going to say, whoa, man, I don't know. This is a whole new level. And I'm not sure that I really like this whole new level. I think I want to slip back into my old way of doing things, my old way of thinking, and my old relationships, because that's a lot more comfortable for me. But I got to tell you, embrace the uncomfortability, because by embracing the uncomfortability, that is always going to precede your next breakthrough. When you are most uncomfortable, you should be saying thank you, because I know that I am feeling super uncomfortable right now. I feel absolutely outmatched. I feel imposter syndrome big time. I feel insecure. I feel uncomfortable. I am not, like, these people don't know that I really shouldn't be here. Like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be here. I didn't earn this. I don't deserve this. Like, I don't know if they really know who I am, because I'm not sure they'd accept me. Well, get ready, because that is always right before the biggest breakthrough. When you feel most uncomfortable, that is always before you have the biggest breakthrough. So embrace that. Surround yourself with people who will challenge you. Surround yourself with people who will give you a bigger vision, a bigger mission, and who believe in your purpose and will push you to that next level of success, because it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Even last night with Sherelle, now y'all just experienced that, right? Holy cow. And she was talking about what she wanted to do in her life over the next 5 years. I was like, that's not big enough. She's like, what? I think it's pretty big. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. We need to go global. I was like, you need to be an author of a book that I'm doing right now with Oprah's favorite guest, Dr. Trey Trent. She just built a library with Oprah in Africa, and she's looking for one more author to go on a world tour with and tell their story. Well, that should be you, Sherelle. You need to be on the platform with Oprah. Yeah. So with that, I have such an honor right now. I am incredibly proud to announce this year's keynote speaker, Miss Fiona Ma. She is a CPA, but importantly, she's California's 34th state treasurer. Yes. Miss Ma is the first woman of color and the first woman certified public accountant elected to this position. It's kind of remarkable, because wasn't California like a little forward thinking? I can't believe it's taken this long. And I got to tell you, this woman is truly a powerhouse. California is the world's 5th largest economy. And Treasurer Ma is the state's primary banker for the world's 5th largest economy. Come on, that's amazing. Ms. Ma will discuss her background and her journey and what it took to achieve all that she has become through purposeful planning and highlighting our theme this year of your future, your plan. Please put your hands together for Mrs. Fiona Ma.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all, and I want to thank Dr. Sherry Hu for inviting me here to be here today to talk about finances, accounting, banking, money. That is kind of what I love to talk about. But before I go into what I do today, I just want to talk a little bit about my background. I am the oldest child of immigrant parents. My parents are both born in China. And I have a tiger dad. Most Asians have a tiger mom, where the mom really controls the kids and their education and their upbringing. Because my mother had depression all her life, my dad was the upbringer. So he treated me like a first child, like the first boy. There was no difference. I would be the one that would go out and change the car tires. I would be out there mowing the lawn with him. You know, whatever he needed me to do, he brought me along.
But I also think a couple things made me who I am today. How many of you participated in brownies or Girl Scouts growing up, right? How many of you were top cookie sellers? Okay. I was a top cookie seller. I excelled and loved to sell cookies. So you go door to door to your neighbors, right? You have to sell them the cookies. You have to get the goods. You have to go deliver the cookies. Then you have to go collect the money. And you see your neighbors every single day of the year until it's cookie time again. And then you do it again. Well, that's kind of like elections. Okay? And that's why I'm good at getting elected, is because it really started being good at selling cookies, at Girl Scout cookies, for a cause, right? Another thing that also I think shaped where I am today. In fourth grade, we had a class project, and my parents decided, or my dad decided, that I should be the banker. So he had my mother write a letter that my daughter, Fiona Ma, should be the banker of the Snake River Valley Project because she is good at math and she has integrity, and that I think she'll do a good job. So that was in fourth grade. And today, at 50, I'll be 57 tomorrow, I am the banker of the state of California. So sometimes what you say to your young people at an early age, it kind of push them out there, maybe does guide them. So growing up, my parents wanted us to be one of the lead professions, a lawyer, engineer, accountant, or a doctor. So I was good at math. I'm the accountant. My brother's the engineer. My sister is a doctor. And we never had a fourth sibling. Otherwise, I'm sure that person would have been a lawyer. But I did marry a firefighter. So instead of lead, we have leaf in our family. But growing up, again, I was good at math. My dad decided that I should be an accountant. So he really trained me from early on. Like, I would have to go balance his checkbook when we had checkbooks back then, right? Pay all the bills and, fill it all out and keep track, and then do all the filings. During tax time, I'd have to help get all the taxes together. He invested in the stock market, so he would have me follow stocks and research, and eventually in college, I started my own investment club. But that's how you get young people, especially women, involved in STEM or STEAM, as it is today. Because traditionally, when we grow up, right, the men are taught to go out and get a newspaper route, go mow people's lawns, make money. And the women are like, oh, stay home, study, I don't know, like help me cook, things that we don't get paid to do. And so when we talk about women in the workforce, we're not usually brought up in that manner where everything we do is about making money, right? And so this is kind of a transformation for many of us who we want equal pay. We want those CEO jobs, right? We want to be recognized, but we weren't trained to do that. And so it does really depend on your upbringing. So women, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, for your young girls, start them off doing what your dad would teach you, right? Work hard. Go get a job. Make money, right? Because there's no free lunch in this life. We never got an allowance. If we wanted money, we had to go do something, right? Wash the dishes, do the clothes, make the beds. That teaches a child the value of money. Not like, hey, I need money, mom and dad, give me money. I'm going to college. I'm going to get a credit card. You pay for my college. After you graduate, oh, I'm going to live home because you're paying all the bills. That is not the way we want our next generation to live. But unfortunately, this generation kind of is entitled, right? As soon as they get a job, like these millennials, they want a raise right away at 22. They want a promotion. And then they're comparing themselves to other people going, well, my friend's doing this, like he's in tech and I should get paid more money. And we're like, well, you applied for this job. That's how much the salary was, right? So their level of expectation is different from, I think, many of us in this room where we had to work for everything we got. So my parents decided I should be an accountant. I chose the Rochester Institute of Technology because they had paid internships. And I always recommend for the young people, if you can get into a school where they will pay you for an internship, the companies come on campus, they actually recruit you. And if you do a good job and you're a good match, they will give you a job. It is so competitive these days to get into college, equally competitive when you're out there trying to get your first job. So you need to do as much as you can, and interning is something that I highly recommend. And again, the boys are doing things, the girls aren't interning all the time, right? They're home studying, doing other things. So women have to get on that same track as the men to prepare for, for this business life and the life that we lead, which is a capitalistic society. So I got a job with one of the big 8 accounting firms, Ernst & Whinney, stayed 5 years. There were no women or minorities that were in senior management, so I decided to quit and start my own practice. So we have fueling entrepreneurial spirit. And my dad actually started many companies, so he always said, hey, go start your own company when it's time for you, because that gives you independence and freedom. So I started my own practice and started, I was president of a small business association, the Asian Business Association. So my job was to go and get more contracting opportunities for women and minority small businesses. And I started to see how tough it is in this world that doesn't look like many of us here in this room. You got to go knock on those doors and try to, needle our way in there. But if people don't look like us, they're not going to give us that opportunity. So even today, women and minority small businesses are still the priority for me. And that's how I got into public service, is really going down to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, going to Sacramento, going to DC. And I understood that people in elected office control the purse strings and they control the policy. And we can all sit and complain if we don't like high taxes or we don't like this regulation or this law. Well, I want to encourage you to run for office because you all can make a difference. And like Miss Jackson said, a lot of times people say, I'm not qualified. I've never done this before. I don't have anyone in my family. I don't have any mentors. Well, don't worry. The men never say that. As soon as a position comes up, the men are like, I'm in, I'm ready. And then you get them up there and they don't know what they're saying. No clue. They don't do their homework. They don't study. But women were like, okay, we're not going to do it until we're ready. And so when we do it, we are well prepared. We do study. We want to make sure that we go in, that we're confident, right? But not everyone does that. So don't feel like you need to be the best and the brightest in anything. And I would encourage you, if you're thinking about public service, to go and get an appointment. Federal, state, and local government always need public sector members to sit on a board. And you don't have to be experienced. You don't have to be a CPA to sit on the water board or the planning department or the rec and park, the library, right? How many of you have sat on a commission before? Right? And you learn about Robert's Rules of Order and the Brown Act and how to deal with constituents and, public meetings and being on TV and how to deal with the media. And after a while, you do that and then you go, who are these people that are elected? I could do a better job than them, right? But that's what it takes. It takes understanding. There's no secret. Anybody can run for office. You don't need a GED even to run for office, okay? But you do need a good accountant to keep your books. Because the filings will kill you. If you miss a filing, you don't do it right, you ignore a letter. So I did a lot of pro bono filings for my friends who were running for office. Most of them were women, most of them were minority, because they didn't have the money to hire expensive people. So I did a lot of that. I started my own Democratic club. I got involved in all the women's organizations. Every one that you've heard of, I was involved in. And then finally, I felt like I was ready to run. I wanted to run for office. My parents, by this time, they were like, please don't give up accounting. It's an honorable profession. You're a CPA. You know, you have your master's in taxation. Like, you should go get your MBA. I said, okay, I'm a pleaser too, like Miss Jackson. Whatever my parents said, yes, mom and dad. I went and got my MBA. Then I'm like, okay, can you let me run for office? Just support me. And they said, well, your younger brother wants to get married. You need to get married. So, okay, fine. I found a nice guy that my dad approved. I got married, and I'm like, I've done everything you want. I've gotten straight A's. I never got in trouble. I never mouthed off to my parents. I said, just allow me to run for office. And they said, okay, we love you. If you don't win, it's okay. You can go back and do accounting. And we're moving to Las Vegas. So they left. And that was 20 years ago in 2002. I ran for the San Francisco Board of Supervisors against 7 other people in the Chinese district back then. When I got elected, I was the only Chinese elected and only the second woman on the board. And you ask, why aren't there more women? Well, back then, there weren't a lot of mentors, a lot of leadership groups now. Now we've got so many training programs that are out there that are teaching and encouraging women to run for office. And so I just had to do it the hard way. I worked for a senator part-time, and then I just learned from him, just being out there in the community, right? Talking to people, listening, doing. I think that's important in showing up, because a lot of elected officials will just show up for the ribbon cutting. But they don't want to get their hands wet. They don't want to be on the organizing committee. They don't want to raise the money. They don't want to, get their hands dirty when there's a cleanup day, right? But that's important, and people realize that you are walking the walk. And so I spent 4 years there. Then I decided to run for the state assembly. And because I was beaten up so bad on the board of supervisors, because I wasn't really trained to, play in the sandbox with, 9 men every day who realized that Sophie Maxwell and I were just not really there to fight with them, that I was much stronger in the assembly. So I served as majority whip for 4 years and speaker pro tem, and passed 60 bills during the Great Recession under 2 governors and 3 speakers. But I worked hard, and I learned, and I didn't want to go back and do taxes. So then I got termed out. And in politics, it's like musical chairs. You hope when the music stops, you have a chair. I didn't have a chair in 2012, and I had to sit out. My parents, meanwhile, moved back to San Francisco, living with me. And my dad's like, this is a sign. Go back and do accounting. Make money. What are you doing? You're wasting your time and your life. And I said, Dad, I'm going to run for the Board of Equalization. And he looked it up. He's like, okay, a tax board. Okay. Getting better. It's the only elected tax board, so not a lot of people know about it. But the franchise tax board, everyone knows about the franchise tax board. That's income taxes. And then the Board of Equalization did every other tax and fee program. So I got elected in my second year. I called in 3 audits because the agency wasn't run properly for many, many years. And the governor actually took away a lot of the tax collection functions as well as the appeals function, and kind of, I kind of got rid of my job basically because there wasn't a lot to do. And then my good friend John Chung decided to run for governor, and he was the treasurer. And I said, well, then I'm going to run for treasurer, right? 4th grade, my parents wanted me to be the treasurer. I'm going to run for treasurer. Let's see how this works out. And so I ran and I won. And I just won for re-election in last year. And so thank you. Thank you. And I would just say, this is my calling. This is my passion, helping people, leveling the playing field, helping people that need help, that don't have a voice. I don't have a lot of free time purposely. I'm an extreme extrovert, so I need people all the time. That's how I get energized. If I'm home, all of a sudden I feel sick. I want to go to sleep. I just don't feel like doing anything. So as soon as I talk to people. I'm out there. I see people. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And this is my life. And I've accepted after 50 years old that I don't want to apologize, because people always ask, like, how do you like balance your life? Like, I don't. So I'm not going to be apologetic. Do you have kids? No, I don't have kids. That was a conscious decision not to have kids, right? As we get older, I think we don't have to validate ourselves or answer to anyone. And one of my mentors, Warren Hellman, he passed away in 2011. I sat in the back of the temple, and his best friend said, Warren Hellman, one of the most successful people in life, he said what he believed in is life is too short to deal with jerks. And after that, I said, if he could be that successful, not dealing with jerks, why do I have to deal with jerks every day? People that suck my time, people that are negative, people that just, take. I said, I cut them all out, and I'm much happier today. Much happier today. But we also have to level the playing field. So, my chief of staff, when I got elected the treasurer, was a Filipina woman. Very, very difficult for women to become chief of staff because they just don't have the experience and the resumes, but I did it. I've had 3 fundraisers over the last 20 years. All of them are women, because if I'm going to raise the money, I want the women to benefit. So consistently, I always have women fundraisers, and she's the best right here in the world. She's the best. And then women candidates, when they're running, I know how hard it is for me to raise money. They will give my male counterpart $9,100, one check. They give me $2,500, and they go, oh, invite me to your next event. I said, okay, I have another event next month. How about next month? I have to have a lot of events because the men like to give excuses. So that's fine. So I use it to my advantage, where I use it as a relationship builder. I'm calling them all the time, and they appreciate that, because they say, oh, some of your other candidates, we never hear them until they run for re-election and they ask us for a check. Well, so sometimes take the negative and turn it into a positive. And so that is my secret, is just staying focused, keeping in touch with people. I'm on the phone all the time, texting, emailing, looking at social media. I mean, that is my business, people business, understanding and knowing what people are doing, what the trends are, whether they're happy or they're unhappy about things. And so if you want to be successful in politics, you need to like people. Being an extreme extrovert will definitely help you in this business. And I just want to say, being in politics is an honorable profession. No matter what my parents say, I think now they're finally proud of me, of being the treasurer of the 4th largest economy. Last year, $3.2 trillion came into my office. I manage a short-term portfolio of $200 billion, and I manage all of the bonds that go out, and that's about $100 billion. And I also fund and finance affordable housing, charter schools, hospitals and clinics, public transportation, green energy projects, garbage and recycling. Everybody who needs money, wants money, comes to my office. And so I'm kind of happy now, because after all these years, I know how government works. I know where all the money is. I know how to access the money. And I'm just very happy that I can work directly with people to help them better their lives, whether they're in government, helping city council members get their projects done, getting grants and loans for small business owners, building hospitals and charter schools for our next generation, building housing on community college sites. I love what I do, but financial literacy, just to go back to this, financial literacy is definitely key. I've had 1,000 interns come through my office. The first thing they have to do is a financial literacy module, just to teach them, not anything else, that when they go to college and someone offers them a free credit card, it is not free. and it could ruin the rest of your life and your credit score. And so I feel it's very important. And so I thank all of you for all you do to educate our generation, the next generation especially, keep them out of high student loan debt, high debt, keep their credit scores good so that they can also build the quality of life that we all want. So thank you all for inviting me here today.
Wow. I mean, this has been an amazing morning, has it not? This is incredible. A couple little small housekeeping notes, and then I just want to note that, Fiona is such an amazing example of how women have overcome daunting generational barriers to financial independence. Especially women of color, minority women have overcome phenomenal generational barriers socially, economically, in every way to achieve financial independence. And to see how Miss Ma is now championing women, underrepresented groups, minorities, to ensure that they have a place at the table. They have an equal playing field now. It's so inspirational. And I gotta tell you, wealth to me is not measured by how much money you earn or inherit or save. It's measured by how you manage it. It's measured by what you do to use that money to steward impact, to create social impact for others. And absolutely, that is the storyline of Fiona Ma. Now, I do want to just note just a couple of housekeeping things. Right across the hallway is a little kitchenette. And in the kitchenette is coffee and drinks in the fridge and all kinds of things. So if you want to take a break, you're welcome to do that. And the restrooms are right down the hall on the left-hand side. So if you go down this hallway and then take a right, it's right down the hall on the, did I say right-hand side? Sorry, left-hand side, as you head down that hallway. Okay, so now I have the good fortune of being able to introduce Melissa Rowe. She is the division manager at Capital Group, and Ms. Rowe has 29 years experience. Let me just stop here for a second and say, the combined wisdom in this room is kind of unbelievable. I mean, just really pretty tremendous. But I also have to say, like, none of you look your age. Like, it flips me out. Like, Sherelle told me her age. I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. What? And then same, Fiona, you're so beautiful. And it's just, it blows me away. This is what living well looks like, I think. But again, Melissa has 29 years of experience and holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Laverne. She's been at Capital Group, home of American Funds, which I'm invested in, for 5 years. And prior to Capital Group, she worked as a managing director at Nuveen Investments, which I'm also invested in. So now I'm feeling really smart right now, okay? She holds a certified investment management analyst designation, and she's going to speak to us about the keys to financial well-being, which I'm so excited to learn and listen from Melissa Rowe. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you for that introduction. Get rid of this water. Thank you all for being here, and I can't believe I have to follow up those two ladies. Like, that was phenomenal in both ways. And when I was with Nuveen, Nuveen is a municipal bond seller. And I actually, with Fiona's counterpart, did some traveling and did some presentations, and it was a lot of fun. And I would love to do it with Fiona someday. That'd be a lot of fun too. Like she said, I have been in the business for 29 years in financial services. And the thing that I love about these venues and these opportunities is that even today, when I walk in a room, it's myself and maybe another woman or two. And we're fighting hard to, for DE&I and to change that. But it takes time. And we have to do more education. And I think a lot of, unfortunately, young women are scared of financial services. And it's probably because of what both of them said earlier, which is there's no one or very few people that look like them in the room. And that is scary. So hopefully these young women, I have 2 teenage daughters, can stand on the shoulders of others like we stood on the shoulders of others that came before us, both Miss Jackson and Fiona. And I just pray for a world that, my kids and others like them and people that are diverse and that don't look like everybody in the boardroom get their opportunity, so that more will see that and they feel like they can do it too. And I'll just start with a little story about myself, because I was talking to someone earlier, Daphne, and she was saying, well, how did you get in this? I actually am the oldest of 7. My mother had me when she was 18 years old. I actually attended her graduation. And her and my father were childhood sweethearts. They had 4 children together. They owned a business, which, in all honesty, my mom did everything. She ran the whole place. She was an unbelievable role model for me. And my father passed away when I was 31. And my mom was 31, or when he was 31, I was 13. And my mom was 31 and she was alone. She remarried. She had 3 other children. So I became the oldest of 7, took on a lot of responsibility. And when I came home, I think I was in the 7th grade. I wrote a paper and they asked what I wanted to be when I grew up. Now I know Fiona was trying to get us into politics. I'm going to stay far away from that. But at that moment, I said, I want to be the president of the United States. And I must have been in elementary school, because I said I was going to solve all the problems with war ball, not wars, because I liked more peace. I don't know if you remember war ball, like you throw the ball at people and if you hit them, they get out, right? Seemed logical to me at that time. Anyways, I must have been in a carpool or something going on the way home, and I told the mom in the car. She asked us what we had wrote, and she said, the President of the United States, you should probably be a nurse or a teacher. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Those are great careers. We need more of them, definitely, and I've got a lot of them in my family. But when I got home to my mom, who had never read a book on raising children, had me when she was 18, she said, you want to be the President of the United States? And I said, yeah, I want to be the President of the United States. She said, I bet when you're 35 that a woman will be able to run for the President of the United States. Sure enough, there was a woman when I turned 35 that was running for Vice President of the United States. It wasn't me. And I see what happens after 4 years in the White House. I like that health aspect. You cannot stay healthy doing that. It's a tough job. And I want to live for a long time. So anyways, I obviously didn't get that dream, but I knew that I could do whatever I wanted. And I want to pass that on to my kids too. Now, one thing my mom didn't teach me, because every day of her life was a struggle, right? To make sure that the 7 of us had everything that we needed. Not only did she run her own business, not only did she run us and our household, she was also found time to be the team mom and the room mom and all these other things. It was really amazing. So having a good role model is important. I hope I provide that to my kids. I'll give you a little secret about what I do to try to teach them about finances. I know Fiona talked a little bit about that. We have to model that for them. The Rockefellers, actually one of the richest families in the country, the way that they teach their kids about finances is they do give them allowance. So we started doing that when our kids were 8 years old. They're now 13 and 16, right? They get allowance. We had 4 different jars, okay? They get their age in money. So if you're 8 years old, you get 8. If you're 16, you get $16, all right? And you have to put 10% away for savings, short-term savings. You have to put 10% away for long-term savings, 10% for charity. And then the other, what is the other 10%? What am I saying? Yes. So anyways, what I wanted to teach my kids was about a 401k, right? And I wanted to teach them, like, how you can compound your savings. And also I wanted to teach them about charity and saving, right? So flash forward, this thing comes out. It's a credit card. It's called a green light card. Now, I was really bad on Sundays. I would forget sometimes to give them their allowance. And then 2 weeks later, my little one, who was 8 at the time, would say, you owe me $32. It's been 4 weeks since you gave me my allowance. And so I would sit there and watch her put them in the different jars. So then there's a card now called Green Light. A lot of different companies have this. So it automatically goes on Sundays. And it's on Saturday, I get an alert and it says, did Kayla and Carly do their chores this week? Because they're going to get their $13 and $16. Now, I don't require chores for those dollars. For other things I do for extra dollars, and they babysit and they look for jobs because they have to pay for some of their own stuff. I think if you're a part of the family, there's certain things that you have to do. Like when you leave the table, you clear your plate, you push in your chair. If there's dog poop in the backyard, get out there and do it. You got to make your bed in the morning. There's just certain things. You got to leave your bathroom clean. Those are your responsibilities and those are your chores for the family. So you get that amount. And then we do other things so that they could earn more. So anyways, that's how I teach my kids. When I come to these things, I always hope, just like Mara said earlier, you learn one thing. But more importantly, I think it's our responsibility for women and men in this room to take whatever we learn, or maybe we just were reminded of something and take it back to the community. Teach a young person, teach teach an older person, teach someone in your family, in your neighborhood, something that you learned today. And I think that's how we help educate the next generation. And frankly, my mom's generation, they didn't get a lot of education. The way that I hear it is, they were taking care of the kids and in the kitchen, and then the men would be out talking about the finances or mortgages or whatever it was. So we need to do our part to make sure that that doesn't continue in the future. So a couple different things. I was planning on having slides, but I can do it without. So what we hear about investing from a lot of people is excuses, right? I mean, I think what I find in this industry when we talk to people is that they spend more time, especially women, planning vacations or even the dinner menu or a baby shower or wedding shower than they do on their own finances. And so that's one thing that they'll say is I don't have time, or my partner does it. Folks, that just can't happen. 90% of women are going to be in charge of their finances at one point. I don't think my grandmother ever thought she was going to have to be, and I'm not sure that my mom thought she had to be either. So we need to make sure if your partner does it, that you're there learning too, because at some point it's going to be your responsibility. We heard a couple of people talk about the fact that there's a large amount of wealth that's going to women. I think already 70% of the wealth that's out there is controlled by women. Women actually purchase more TVs and cars than men today, right? And I don't know about you, but last time I went to buy a car, they looked straight at my husband and I was like, I'm the breadwinner here. Look over here, this is my car, right? So I think there's still, and listen, my husband is awesome. I couldn't do all this stuff without him. He makes every lunch in our house. He also works very hard, but don't overlook the other person, right? And be involved in that. Let's talk about a couple other things when we do our research. I don't understand it. This one is, I get it, right? I didn't understand it. I had to learn it mostly on my own and hopefully been able to teach my 3 sisters and my daughters. But there's people out there that can help you. You've got to get a financial advisor, go online, do something, but there is a lot of resources out there to understand. So I'm going to talk about a few things, just kind of high level that you can do. At American Funds Capital Group, where I work, we don't give advice. We work with financial advisors and ask that they give advice. We actually manage the money. So if you own a mutual fund or something like that, we manage the money. So I'm going to give some high level ideas. Again, I hope you learn one thing. You can more importantly share one thing. But what we hear from a lot of women too that are older is, I wish I would have known. And I actually think my mom might have dialed in on the live stream because for 29 years she's been saying, do I ever get to hear you speak? So this was her chance. But I bet my mom is one of those people that said, I wish I would have known, right? I wish I would have known more about, the stock market. I wish I would have known more about estate planning, lots of things that she wished she would have known. But 59% of widows and divorcees regret not being more involved. And 98% of women in our studies say that if they could do it over again, they would be more involved and they would be at the meetings and not at whatever else they were at, which they thought was more important. So this is the way that I want you to think of your financial life. I want you to think of it as a puzzle, right? So when you're younger, if you had kids, does anyone know Melissa and Doug puzzles, right? They're very simple. There's about 5 big, huge pieces. They've got little things at the top to make them easy for you to grab. They're not little tiny pieces. You put them on. It's very simple. They're for little kids. That's when you're younger. That's what your financial, puzzle probably looks like, right? It's like I might have a car payment. I'm paying rent. I got to pay my student loans, whatever the cases be. As you get older, things get a lot more complicated. You've got to invest. What are the risks to investing? You've got to buy life insurance, maybe long-term care. You got to take care of kids. You got to take care of parents. A lot of women are actually sandwiched between that. So there's all these things that become much more complicated. And now your puzzle looks like 1,000-piece puzzles. Anyone here like to do puzzles? Me too. What is the very first thing you do? Everybody says that. Everybody says that. Now I'm going to give you something else to think about when you're doing a puzzle and also when you're thinking about your financial health. Look at the box top. Right? Yeah. Did someone say that? I missed that. If someone said that, that's good. You gotta know what the picture is. It's the same thing with your financial health, right? You have to know what the picture is. And it takes time to figure that out. And it takes energy. And we know we've all got a million other things to do. I've got a job. I've got 2 kids. I've got, all the finances to take care of my family. I've got, I'm actually was the PTA president for 4 years because I didn't have enough to do. There's all these other things that you're doing. And so putting together your puzzle seems like, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, folks, just like Fiona, I'm 50. Tomorrow is today, right? You've got to start as soon as you can. The younger you are, the more we can educate the younger folks, so much better for them to get started. So the puzzle box, that's what I want you to think about. When you're doing a 1,000-piece puzzle, do you do it by yourself all the time, or is it nice to have help? It's nice to have help. And that's where I think someone can come in to help you, some sort of financial advisor, a friend that maybe knows more about the market and about finances and things like that. So don't do it on your own. First thing you need to figure out is, what does money mean to you? First two speakers said money doesn't make you happy, right? It's not the money. Money is a means to get to where you need to go, right? So what does money mean to you? Most women tie money's helpfulness and being successful to helping their family, to putting their kids through college, to helping their parents, things like that. Most men think about making more money in the stock market and getting their returns and kind of a little bit more of like a Vegas style. We want that too as women. Don't get me wrong. We definitely want our money to work for us, but we are very focused on our family. So that's step number one. When you get a free moment of time, when you take some time to yourself, like Sherelle said, maybe you just think about like, what is that? And by the way, I have to learn to say no more. I just, like PTA president, traveling every single week with 2 kids. That's crazy. Why did I say yes to that? And also, some of those people I did not want in my life. Sorry, I screamed that. They were just dragging me down. So thank goodness that is over, although I appreciate doing things for the community. And what are your goals, right? I think women and men share a lot of the same goals. You want to plan for retirement. You probably want to help your kids go to college. Now, frankly, I had to pay for all my own college. I told you, my mom didn't have any money. She's so awesome. She gave me a pan of her homemade lasagna every Sunday, and I would bring it to the dorms, which were only 45 minutes away because I didn't want to be too far away from my siblings. Weird, I know. And so I really appreciated that. But I worked 3 jobs during college. I want to help my kids when they get in college. And but I want them to help themselves too. So they don't have to have 3 jobs, but maybe a job during the summer or do something to help themselves. This is not going to be a free ride, even though I probably could give them the free ride if they wanted, right? Long-term care, planning for your long-term care, helping your parents. Like there's all these things that we all want to do, whether you're female or a male, right? And then where are you in life? I see some very young people here, right? That hopefully will start planning a little earlier. And then I see a few people that are older. I see a lot of people my age, right? So where are you in your life? That's important because you got to figure out the time and the money aspect. And life events can be challenging. We don't expect them. I'm positive that my mom did not expect her high school sweetheart to pass away in his 30s with 4 young kids and a business. I'm absolutely positive that wasn't part of her plan. The average age of widowhood, and my mom probably brought it down some, so maybe move the average up tiny, but is 56. Geez, I'm only 6 years away from like that, let that sink in. 1 out of 4 widows go through the retirement benefits after their husband passes in 2 months. Why do you think that is? They have no education. And I know, because I've got a couple in my family, the first thing my aunt wanted to do was go to the bank and put it all in the bank. Right now, the bank looks attractive. It does. But the bank is not going to get you to your long-term goals, and it's probably going to give you an extra 3 or 4 months. It's not going to give you an extra 3 or 4 years or 10, 15 years, which you need, right? 46% of women are surprised by finances after divorce. I'm going to give you a quick story about my aunt, and keep me honest on the time because I don't know. Okay, sorry. I didn't bring my phone up here. My aunt had 3 children. She did not work. She stayed at home, and she was surprised that my uncle wanted to get a divorce. And so what did she say? Well, I have this beautiful home in San Dimas. I raised my kids here. By the way, this was 2007, so if anyone knows what happened to the real estate market. I raised my children here. I want this house. And you can have all your retirement. You can have everything. And then she took a loan on the house because she didn't work, right? And she didn't have anyone helping her. And frankly, I didn't know this was all going on. I've always tried to stay away from that in my family. And I've had 2 occasions where I've thought, that's it, I got to start stepping in, right? I have to help them. Anyways, you can imagine what happened. She ended up having to short sell her house. She doesn't have the house anymore. She has 3 beautiful kids. She now works, but she's not living the life that she was accustomed to at the time, right? So that's unfortunate, but she needed help and she didn't have the education. And again, I hope that never happens to anyone in this room, and I hope it doesn't happen to my daughters. So if I was to put up a slide that said, okay, you're starting to figure out what your goals are, you know where you are in your life, do you have enough money for all of your goals? Or do you not have enough money? Do you have just enough money? I'm guessing that most people in this room are gonna say, not enough. I mean, I don't think I quite have enough to do everything I want to do, because when I do retire, I would like to do some charity work and things like that. And, that takes time and money and effort. So you have to figure out where you are. Again, it goes back to time frames, your goals, and where you are with your money. But the good news is that women save more than men of their paycheck. So all the studies that we look at and that we've done say women save on average about 9%, men save about 8%, so a little bit more. The bad news is that women want to put it in the bank. We're very risk averse without education. With education, we actually take on more risk, which is interesting, right? So you educate yourself, then you're willing to take on more risk. If I could show you a chart right now, if you looked at 20 years, pick any 20-year time period, and you put $10,000 in a savings account, right now you might get a little bit more, but it would be for a short time, you probably end up at the end of 20 years with about $13,000, $14,000. If you put that same $10,000 in the stock market, you're probably in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $45,000. That gets you to your goals a lot easier. Now, I'm not saying the money that you need to pay your house payment, you put in the stock market. I'm saying the money that you can save from your paycheck and invest, you put in the stock market, because over long time periods, you will get paid for that. And is it risky? Yes. But you know what you need to do? You need to not look at it every day. The way that I think about a stock market, when I explain it to my friends and family, is now picture this in your mind, close your eyes if you have to, okay? You're at the mall and you're watching a child on an escalator play with a yo-yo. You watch the escalator, not the yo-yo. And please don't look at the news today, because the stock market will not be your friend. You want to watch the escalator, because eventually it goes over time. Don't watch this. It'll make you sick, right? It's just like going on a roller coaster, right? It makes you sick. So watch the escalator, not the yo-yo. I think I'm getting close to time. I'm not sure. Okay, so I just want to put one thing out there, and I could be here for 2 hours talking about this, but what do you think is your biggest risk? That's right. That's right. It's your health and living longer. Back in 40s, 50s, 60s, people lived into their 60s. So they would retire, and 2 or 3 years later, unfortunately, they would pass. Now people are retiring a little bit older, 60s, mid 60s, maybe even 70s, but they're living into their 80s. I read in the USA Today a couple weeks ago that a child born today, because of medical technologies, could live to be 120. Now, just really quickly, and I'm going to end right after this, really quickly, you've got a 120-year-old person living with their 100-year-old kids and their 80-year-old grandkids in one house. If that doesn't scare you into investing, right? Like, I don't know what will. But people are living longer, and you've got to make your dollars last longer in retirement. With that, again, we could go on for 2 hours. I just appreciate you all allowing me to be here today, and I love the other two women that spoke, and I just love opportunities like this. So thank you so much.
I can listen to you all day. That was so good. Wow, I would have been happy to listen to Melissa all day. That was amazing. So a couple things. We've got one more remarkable speaker, and then we are going to break for lunch, for awards, for a panel discussion, and also audience Q&A. So hang with us. We've got one more remarkable speaker that you are not going to want to miss. Now, I will tell you a story that Melissa sort of inspired for me. When I was growing up, like Sherelle, I came from a background with no discretionary money. We were living paycheck to paycheck, if that, right? We were really, for most of my life, fairly poor, I think is how most people would describe it. And so when I grew up, I didn't really expect a white knight to come swoop in and pick me up and save me. I really thought that I was going to have to create my own destiny. I was going to have to create my own financial well-being. I was going to have to create my own future. And so, I'm not slow on the uptake. I have a PhD. I actually love statistics. I like finance. But I will tell you that when I was young, starting out, I got connected to a few advisors and was trying to learn from them, trying to listen to them, trying to make smart decisions about what to do with my finances. I will tell you, it was intimidating. And it was scary. And they used terminology, I swear, purposefully to confuse me. And I could not figure out up from down. And I'm not, slow on the uptake. I've got a PhD. I love statistics. I love finance. I am good with numbers. And I couldn't understand anything. I had to go through literally 8 advisors till I finally found someone who said, listen, there are no wrong questions here. Let's talk about what some of the terms mean. Let's talk about what some of the terminology really means and what the risk profile is of some of these things. You're young. You can bounce back from a lot of risk. But let's really talk about what you feel comfortable with. And I moved all my money to that person. All my money over to that person. Now, in ensuing years, I've diversified. I have several advisors. But it is also so important to be able to have a safe place to ask questions and not feel stupid and not feel intimidated and not feel as though you are not given the right to learn, to just simply learn. And so I really appreciate, Melissa, what you just offered because, she is giving a safe place for others to listen and learn from her knowledge and her expertise, and that's so important. And, as Mara said, I am the CEO of an organization called Leadership Global, and we believe so much in the mission of what wealth mastery means for women that we actually have a free roundtable every single month where it is chocked full of some of the brightest minds in financial and wealth management that women can come and just sort of say, I don't know what a real estate investment trust is. I hear this term REIT all the time and I have no idea what it is. Can you help me? Yes, happy to. I don't understand the risk portfolio of this investment versus that. I don't understand mutual bonds. I don't understand these things. Can you help me? Absolutely. And we talk about everything from cryptocurrency to Bitcoin to long-term care planning, everything in a safe environment. And I would invite all of you to find a mentor, find an advisor, or find a group where you can ask even the most basic questions without fear of reprisal, without fear of being intimidated. And I think that's really what Melissa was talking about in a lot of ways. Now, I am so excited to introduce our next speaker, Dr., not Ms., Dr. Asaya Ghazi. She is the founder and CEO of Amplify Your Potential Training Institute. Dr. Asaya has triumphed over years of challenging circumstances, earning an MHRM from Keller Graduate School of Management and a doctorate in education from Pepperdine University, which, by the way, how can you even study at Pepperdine? Like, I don't know how you could even sit in a classroom. That shows discipline. I gotta say, that off the cuff, that's just huge discipline. Where she conducted research into imposter syndrome, specifically among female engineers and STEM professionals. Dr. Asaya has developed a unique approach to combating feelings of imposter syndrome that anyone can use to break out of negative cycles. And she's going to share that system with us in her talk, Combat Imposter Syndrome and Amplify Your Life. So, thank you so much.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad all of you are here today. And not only are you all here to learn about wealth and how to empower yourself, but also I'm going to be able to share the 4 steps that I actually did research on to help us really work on overcoming the feelings of imposter syndrome. But before we get to that, I want to share my own personal story of my own financial journey and also that of how I was able to work on overcoming imposter syndrome. And so I guess my first question to all of you is this: how many of you have at some point in your life experienced imposter syndrome? Yep. I see hands in the room. Yeah. And if you've never experienced it, that's amazing. Statistics and research do show that about 70% of the population do experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. And as things start to get a little bit better for them, they start to learn how to cope with this, and they are able to work on overcoming it. But let me start with my story. Why was I so curious about imposter syndrome, and why did I want to study this? I suffered through imposter syndrome because I had family members that did not treat me with the respect that I needed. They didn't treat my mother with the respect that she needed. When I was about 2.5 years old, my mom left my father. My father was financially abusive to her as well. Took her money out of her bank account one day with a girlfriend who forged signatures on the check. And when my mom went to the bank to find out about her money, she was told that her money was withdrawn and taken out. And I think her journey from that began as far as how to deal with her own wealth and finance, which she really had a tough time with. So when I was about 2.5, we came here from West Virginia, where I was born. And my mom didn't really have the money to get our place. So my uncle was the one, her older brother, said, come and live with me. It's fine, come live with me. Now, she's an immigrant. My family were all immigrants. They immigrated from Pakistan. Dad's side of the family immigrated from India. So I'm first generation for my family, of course. And you're coming from a different country where you are not living a wealthy life. You don't know what money is. You're just able to get what you can get and survive from that. My grandmother had to scrimp and save every cent and every rupee that she would get, because in Pakistan and India, dollars are called rupees, to be able to educate her 9 children. And she was getting that money from her oldest son, who was a doctor who was here in West Virginia, sending her money every month. But it wasn't enough. She's raising 7 other kids, 8 other kids actually, and trying to get them educated, trying to make sure she's got food on the table. And so if you think about that, when you think about generational wealth, we didn't have it. My mom's side of the family didn't have it. I don't know nothing about my father's side, so I can't say nothing about him. But on my mother's side. So when she came out here, she had really nothing. She didn't have any money to her name. She struggled to find work. And whenever she had gotten a job, my uncle was right there saying, I want your check. I want your check. And my mom would go, why? I need this money. I have to raise my child. Well, what do you need the money for? You're living here in my house. You don't have to pay rent. You don't have to pay the utilities. And he would forcefully take her money. At some point, she said, no, this is my money. You need to open up a bank account. And back, I don't know, maybe in the 80s and 90s, it was probably difficult to open a bank account. I'm not exactly sure for women. I know things are so much more different now, but back then, my uncle opened up a bank account for her, but he always kept a count on her money. He always wanted to know, well, how much money do you have in the bank account? Why are you spending it here? And as I grew older, I started to see this pattern. My uncle actually at one point stole my mom's identity behind her back because he was also doing her taxes, so he had access to her Social Security. Guess what he did? He made credit cards under her name. He put her into about $400,000 worth of debt. She didn't even know what was going on. He put himself into debt because he was doing horse racing and trading, stock trading. And he ended up putting my mom through bankruptcy. She went into the courthouse not knowing what she was in court for, and had to do whatever she was being asked to say in order for the bankruptcy to happen. And I found, of course, I grew up, I found this out later. I went, Mom, didn't you know that you were going to court for bankruptcy? She's like, no, I had no clue. I just did whatever I was told. I had no idea. Really? So I told my mom, I said, you have to get empowered about your money. You have to stop allowing this to happen. Because again, when it comes to boundaries, we just talked about boundaries. We just talked about empowering ourselves. We're talking about how people need to start saving. How could she start saving? She didn't even have a cent to her name to save. And she was working part-time at a local mosque, teaching children there how to read the Quran. I'm Muslim, so we this is, this was her life, this was her job, and she was making like maybe 200 a month. At some point, she started making about 700 a month, like 10, 20 years later. But she stayed there. She was that was her means of income. She scrimped and saved every cent to raise me to be the person I am today, a strong, resilient person. And I do have to say that because my mom is currently in the hospital right now. She suffered a major heart attack 2 weeks ago, and then after her stent surgery, she suffered a pretty major stroke. So she's going through a lot right now, and I've been in and out of the hospital, and so this talk is really for her, and it's because I want to empower all of you to think about people in your lives, and like we were saying, setting boundaries. Get rid of the people in your lives. It's hard when it comes to family, though. You can't really get rid of your family members, but you can definitely set those boundaries. So I saw my mom struggling so much, her identity being taken, credit cards being made under her name. He even opened up a Charles Schwab account, and he forged signatures on checks that he opened a joint account for with my mom. My mom didn't even know. She only went with him once to this bank to open up a joint account. She didn't even know what this account was for. And he only wanted her name on there so he could forge her signatures on checks, which I found later when I was cleaning out my uncle's room and everything when he was in the hospital. And I saw all this and I went, oh my God, Mom, did you know? Did you know that he forged a $100,000 check with your signature in a Charles Schwab account we don't even know about? So, needless to say, my mom didn't have to go through bankruptcy one more time, but she knew this time what it was for. And I said, we're gonna have to go through it because he racked up a lot of debt, and I didn't have that means or the money to pay it. She didn't have the means or money to pay it. So we had to go through that step. It's traumatic when you are financially abused by your own family members, when they take advantage of you. And I don't want that to happen to anybody, and I didn't want that to happen to me. But here's the thing, I didn't have the mentors and I didn't have the lessons to learn how to be better with money management. So I got into college, and yes, free credit card. Absolutely. Oh, I get to have a credit card? $10,000 limit? Sure. So I did it. I ended up getting God knows how many credit cards. Like, I think I had 20. Yeah, I had 20. And I racked up about $50,000 worth of debt on those credit cards. And even though I had jobs, I didn't have jobs that were giving me enough money. So needless to say, paying them off became difficult each time. So I really did live off of credit cards. My uncle even made a credit card and gave one to me with his name attached to it, because I think he wanted to use my credit because it was good. So his credit would be good because I guess people can do that. And of course, with all of that, I never learned the importance of saving money, the importance of paying off your debt, the importance of really being stable with yourself. I never learned that. And it took me years to understand how to do this. I had to go through bankruptcy myself back in 2013, 10 years ago, because I had no income coming in. How was I going to pay my debt off? And so I really did feel that I wasn't good enough for this money because of what I saw my mom go through, what I saw was as far as the financial abuse. I mean, there was verbal and mental and emotional abuse as well, but a lot of it was also financial. And seeing her go through it and seeing her not having a livelihood, it pushed me and it made me determined to say, okay, no, I'm not gonna have this type of future. I also want to make sure that she's not gonna have that. And so my aim became, I'm gonna start making this income because I'm gonna take care of my mom, because I'm gonna make sure that she's happy and that she's gonna get her livelihood back, no matter what, whether it's just me giving her money, putting it in her bank account, doing what I can do for her, because she deserved it. She took care of me with the dollars that she could save, but she never had that financial stability. And I don't want that for myself or for anybody else. And so I had to empower myself to change and to say, no, now is the time. You have to deserve that you're good for this. You have to know that you're deserving of wealth, and you have to be able to overcome the trauma of the financial abuse that you experienced along with your mother. Because my uncle made it so difficult that if my mom ever wanted to get her own space, which she had said to me many times, I want to get my own apartment or my own place, she couldn't do it. She didn't have the means or the ability to even rent an apartment because she didn't have the money for it. Anyways, needless to say, it's helped me to learn a lot about money. Now, in 2011, I wanted to get into life coaching. I got my life coaching certification. And of course, they tell you, hey, once you're out, you're going to be making about $125 an hour with your customers or your clients. You don't learn, and a lot of these coaching schools don't teach you how to market yourself and how to get clients. But they're saying, oh, you can do this. Now, but when it came time for me to ask for money from my clients, I remember the feeling of dread. I remember feeling like there's just, if I tell them that I'm going to charge $125 an hour for the work that I provide and for the time and expertise I can give them, they're going to say no to me. And I want to hear no. I want to hear yes. And that made me feel like asking my clients to give me money, what I deserve and what I wanted, I felt like, oh, no, they're going to say no because they're going to tell me they can't afford me. So I need to make sure I can make it easy for them. I had all these excuses. So I did not feel like I was good enough and that I deserved the money from my clients. And because I had that type of mindset, it became difficult for me to even sustain a business at that time. I couldn't do it. I mean, I also had my uncle over my head saying, oh, so how much money are you making this month? And I'm looking at him like, it ain't any of your business. Nope, I'm not going to give you any money. And that was what he wanted. He actually, at one point, said to my mom, well, I don't know what Asia's doing all day. Is she making money? Because if she is, she needs to tell me how much she's making. And I was like, you're not my father. I don't need to tell you how much I make. Boundary number one, I don't need to tell you how much I make. That's my money that I'm going to use to take care of myself and my mom, not you. And I told him when he was in a nursing home, because he ended up getting a major heart attack, bypass surgery, had to go into a nursing home a few years ago. He did pass in 2020. But when I was in a nursing home, I told him, I said, you did. You took advantage of my mom. You took her livelihood away from her. You made her suffer. You made me suffer because of the choices that you made that inadvertently affected us. And you are in a position where you're at today. I want you to know that I'm not here to take this anymore. I know you're here in this place. I didn't put you here. Your doctors put you here, but I'm not here to be abused by this anymore. I want you to know that we know everything that you did to my mom. What do you think he said? No, he didn't apologize. He's laying there in a nursing home, and instead he goes, well, no, you're the ones that put me in debt. I'm like, oh, okay. How do you figure? So again, you got to think about these things because these are the things that come to us and affect who we are and the way we want to live our lives. If you want to live your life with financial well-being, if you want to live your life and have a business, get clients, get money, you got to feel good about yourself and you got to know you deserve it. And today I do have clients I work with and I tell them, this is how much I charge. I charge, X amount of money. And I know that my value is worth it. I know my value is worth it. I want you to know your value is worth it. So when you ask for what you want, be confident about it. And I did that. So now if my clients come in and I tell them, okay, great. Here, send me your Zelle, your Venmo, however you want to get the money and we'll do it. And I realized that when you give good time to people, when you provide value, that's what people are looking for. They will pay you. They will not ask you any questions because they know your value and worth, because you know your value and worth. If you don't know your value and worth, you're not going to go anywhere. So remember that. Now, let me get into the imposter syndrome because, again, I really had to work on overcoming this imposter syndrome that I was dealing with of not feeling good enough about not just my money, but just everything in general in my life that I was going through. I had dealt with a lot of imposter transference. So imposter transference, I made up this word during my study, my research study, because what I saw from my participants was that sometimes they didn't feel imposter syndrome, but they had other people telling them they weren't good enough. They had other people saying to them, no, you can't do that. No, you're a woman. How can you do this? What? I'm sorry. I'm a badass. No. I'm going to do it because I know how to do it, right? And so when my participants gave me some of their answers, I thought, okay, this is a good word because they're transferring that, and that happened to me because I always had people from childhood make fun of me and tell me I wasn't good enough. Oh, you're smelly, you know, you're this, you're that, you're fat. Like people would say things about my weight. I was a chubby child. Oh well. But I was made fun of so much from my youth all the way up until like probably my junior year of high school. And then not being accepted by my own community and not being accepted by my own peers, it affected the way that I thought about myself. And so what they said to me, those words that they said to me, it resonated with me in a really negative way. And I started to take it in, and that I realized later was imposter transference. It wasn't how I felt about myself, but it was what other people decided to think about me and put into my face. And I realized they were wrong. And it took me time to realize that. So here are the 4 steps that I used to help me to overcome imposter syndrome, and the 4 steps that I was able to garner from my research and my participants. The first thing is accomplish. Okay, you want to set goals for yourself. Now, if your goal is a financial goal, if your goal is a goal where you want to get a promotion at your job, you're running for office, because you know who doesn't want to be a politician today, right? Not me. I mean, I'm good. But if you want to be a politician, you know, that's a great goal. So I want you to think about what you want to accomplish, set that goal for yourself, and think about the paths that you want to get into. Okay, so that's A. That's accomplish. The second one is support systems. We talk a lot about support today. You want to have the right type of support. I can tell you right now, with everything that I'm going through with my mom and seeing her in the state that she's in and all the emotions I've been going through in the last 2 weeks, I've had a really great support system. I am grateful. I have 2 friends sitting right here supporting me today. I am grateful to have a huge circle of influence in my life, people that are helping me to deal with the things that are coming my way, unexpected things that are happening in life right now, as you were saying, Melissa. And support systems really help because these are people that will help you to get on track. You can talk to them about your goals, and you can say, you know, I have these financial goals. You know, I talk to Inva right here and Luz, and I talk to him. I'm like, my goal is to make a certain amount of money, but it's not because I want to make money because I want to feel good with it. Because again, money is not what makes you feel good. It's the ability for me to use the money to do the good things that I want to do in this world, to help my mom, to help other people in this world, and to be able to do good things as best as possible, right? For me, that's my goal. So I let my support system know that. And they say, yeah, we're with you in agreement with this. Let us know what you need and how we can support you. So make sure you know the people that you want to get support from, because if you don't get that support from the right people, nix them out right away and find better people in your life. Don't stick with the people that are going to give you bad advice like, oh, it's okay, go buy that Coach purse. It's only going to be $50. Girl, no. Listen, it's tempting and I would love to buy that purse, but I got to know when I got to do it, right? So again, make sure you got the right people in your life. The third one is investment. Investing in yourself. So there's financial investment. You want to learn about finance and how to invest and how to take care of your money, but you also want to invest in learning. So that could be personal development. A lot of us are learning how to be better leaders. Invest in that. I teach people leadership. I teach people resilient leadership, team building, how to overcome conflict. I teach that. It's part of my business. I also have a course that I'm creating on overcoming imposter syndrome. So if you want to know more about this course, let me know and I'll tell you more about it. And I talk about these 4 steps in a lot more detail. But investing in yourself is important because if you don't invest in yourself, you're not going to learn. Educate. Educate in yourself. And the last one is acknowledge. Why do I say acknowledge? We don't celebrate ourselves enough. How many of you have gotten up today and actually celebrated who you are today? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Right? Give yourself them high fives. Exactly. I only saw 5 people that raised their hand. What about the rest of you all? Right? I know, I see. You're like, I want you to celebrate every big and small win. We don't celebrate ourselves enough because in this room, I only had 5 people here who know their value and worth, and raise your hand saying, yeah, I celebrate myself. So I need you all to do that for yourself today. Every big or small win. So you saved some money, celebrate that. You did something good for yourself, celebrate it. You wanted to treat yourself, buy something for yourself, do it for yourself. Do something that helps you to celebrate the accomplishments that you are achieving today. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to notice the feeling of, I deserve this. I feel good about myself. I'm no longer going to think of myself as an imposter, because you are not an imposter. We are not imposters. We are real people who know our worth, who know how we know how to amplify our life. And that's the way to amplify your life. You use these 4 steps. And at the end, you celebrate every big and small milestone. If that small milestone was to just get up this morning earlier by half an hour, you celebrate that. If your milestone today was, I'm going to drive out here and be a part of this event, you need to celebrate that during lunch today. Okay? That's what I want for all of us. Celebrate your wins. Invest in yourself. Have them support systems in place, and focus on the goals you want to accomplish. Here's my call to action for all of you, because I know my time is probably running out at this point. My call to action is this: change your mind, change your thoughts. It sounds cliche. It sounds like I'm talking about Dr. Wayne Dyer, but I'm being really honest with you. If you can focus on changing your mindset, and you can focus on changing the way you think about yourself and the way that you think about your own value and worth, you will see a huge, magnificent difference in yourself. You will find out that your life is being amplified because you shifted your mindset. I could sit and be emotional and cry over what I'm dealing with right now with my mom, and just seeing her in the situation she's in. It's heartbreaking. But I choose to be positive because she taught me to be positive, and she would not want me to sit there and just not do anything and dwell on what she's going through, right? And so you have to change the way you think about things. Wake up each day, think about how you want your day to go, and shift your mindset. And you know what? And for those of us who are about God and spirituality, please put God in your life first, because I do that, and I honestly see my day shifting. So change your mindset. Whatever your higher belief is, whatever it is that you do in your life, put that first. Put yourself first. Put your value and worth first. And if somebody comes and tells you you're not good enough, guess what you're going to say to them? I am way better than you think. I am just as good enough, and even more than good enough. Thank you so much.
Good news. We are right on time, which is wonderful. So we're going to have a time right now to break for lunch. There's some lunch in the break room right across the hall, and you're welcome to file in and grab what you'd like and do a little networking. And when you come back, we're going to enter into our award ceremony, which is going to be amazing. I can't wait for you guys to meet the 2 Purple Diamond Award winners this year. It's going to be amazing. Yes, we're going to highlight the achievements of 2 women who are giving back with grace, with dignity, with love and energy to the larger Southern California community. And it is going to be uplifting. Everyone, thank you so much for your time and attention this morning. I hope you found it valuable, and please break for lunch. And when you come back, we will begin our program again. Thank you. 12:20. You're welcome to bring it in here. Symposium. So thanks to Mara and team for providing such a, I feel like, really wonderful lunch. And I got to tell you, this for me has been incredibly valuable. I have learned and listened to amazing speakers all morning. But the part of the program that maybe I'm most excited about is happening right now. This is when we are going to award 2 Purple Diamond Awards this year, highlighting the achievement of 2 women who, as I said before, are giving back to the Southern California community with grace and dignity and love and generosity and energy. And this year, for the very first time ever, in addition to our original Purple Diamond Award, we're also presenting a Purple Diamond Warrior Award meant to honor exemplary female veteran or active duty member of the military. So big hand of award. And please join us in celebrating our Purple Diamond awardees today. Now, the first remarkable leader that I have the opportunity to honor today is Teresa Murphy. Teresa Murphy is the Precious Life shelter leader. Teresa, thank you. Teresa holds a bachelor's degree in counseling psychology from California State University of Long Beach. She's been working with individuals, couples, and youth since 1988. Holy cow. And associated with a Precious Life Shelter since 1989. She became a member of the board of directors in 1990 and began working on fundraising aspects for the shelter, initiating the annual Affair of the Heart dinner dance and auction for over 300 donors, volunteers, and supporters. Teresa is involved in many civic organizations and volunteer services. And I got to tell you, this woman is so heart centered, so impactful, so purpose driven. It is an honor to be able to honor Teresa Murphy. Teresa, come on up. So there you go. So Teresa is receiving an award. She is receiving a certificate from Fiona Ma. Let's take a picture of this. Oops, that's equals. Give you the right one. Teresa Murphy. This is a certificate from Fiona. And the Purple Diamond Award. So thank you so much. And you also have a present from the Women's Wealth Symposium. So thank you so much, Teresa.
We have an elected official in the House that came special to bring recognition. We have Assemblyman Treetop.
Hello, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. I'm Treetop, California State Assembly member. So my 70 district, including city of Westminster, Garden Road, Farm Valley, Stan, Los Alamitos, a portion of Seal Beach, Huntington Beach, and Santa Ana. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so honored to honor outstanding person, Teresa Murphy. I'm really impressed with her story, really impressed with everything she done for the community. So I'm honored to recognize you and honor you for everything you've done. Thank you so much for dedicate your life for our community. Really appreciate everything you do.
Very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
I just want to say I'm very humbled to accept this award, and thank you very much. Having worked with Mara for quite a while as she developed this organization, it is a pleasure to be here today and just say thank you for what you continue to do for women. I run a shelter for homeless pregnant adult women who have no place to go. And so we've been in the business for 34 years here in Los Alamitos. And we provide those services that what you talked about today, they would never know. Coming straight off the street with not a penny in their pocket. We help them prepare for birth and delivery, obviously, and then we help them to get back into the world, to get a job, to learn how to save, and to be able to take care of themselves and their child when they graduate from our program. We started with 6 beds. We now have 50 beds, including permanent housing in Los Alamitos, and it means women have a place to stay while they continue their job. One of the things that I was sharing with one of our volunteers who happens to be here is that watching our women walk out the door, having paid off all their debt, they have nothing that's following them when they walk out the door, and money in their pocket, some of them with as much as $35,000. So it works when our goal is to say, no matter what your check is, every single week, something needs to go to an investment, something. So you make that decision. You get to pick the choice that you want to have when you walk out the store. So we want to be the place where they have a dream and they can make it happen because they have a place to live. Thank you for your help and your support just in the community to empower women to know you can be who you dream you can be. Thank you.
Wow. I know, right? Stand and applaud. Teresa, as the president, CEO, and executive director of Precious Life Shelter, is making such a huge impact in the lives of women here in Southern California. And I am so inspired by the work that Teresa and her team do. Our second Purple Diamond Award winner tonight is really special because it is the first award of its kind. It's the Purple Diamond Warrior Award. And it is being awarded to April Parker. April Parker is the executive director of April Parker Foundation. She is a successful business executive and entrepreneur turned nonprofit leader with over 20 years of experience as a corporate executive in contract law. She is best known for her leadership and for creating such well-known brands as Eden Body Works and April Parker Shoes. April grew up in the port city of Baltimore, Maryland, and witnessed firsthand the consequences of economically disinvested communities. Her dedication to serving others led her to serve in the U.S. Army. After moving back to Long Beach, California in 2014, April observed socioeconomic disparities similar to those that she witnessed growing up. So she founded the April Parker Foundation with a passion for problem solving to address the disparities of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, the BIPOC community. April has degrees in business and law from Rowan University, and it is my honor and pleasure to welcome April Parker. April, thank you so much. There we go. This is April's award. And she also has an incredible certificate from Fiona Ma, California State Treasurer, which is amazing. And then another certificate recognizing her contribution as a Purple Diamond Award winner. All right. Thank you. And Tay?
And it's in my honor again to honor an outstanding woman, April Parker, for your dedication. And I'd like to introduce myself that I also assigned to be serving on the Military Veteran Affairs Committee. So anything that I could do for the veterans, so please let me know. Really appreciate that.
Everybody who knows me, the answer is yes. And somebody please get his business card because I definitely have work that needs to be done for veterans. Thank you so much for this award. But I want to also thank my family. I have 6 daughters and a wonderful spouse, and they have served alongside me in the military as well as alongside me in the community. They are my partners, and I love them very much. I also want to thank all of my APF team. And our partners, because they are 100% dedicated to the community and their commitment is amazing, and they are change makers and my everyday heroes. And so thank you. I only have a few minutes, but anyone who knows me knows that my favorite story is The Little Red Hen, right? Everybody knows that. And I hope you've all read it. It's a short read. But in that story, she asked for help. She asked for help within her community. And they said, not I. So I want to charge each and every one of you to say yes. There are things I'm going to ask you. I'm going to say, who is going to help the people in our community who need it the most? We're going to say yes. Who is going to help the small businesses thrive, recover, start new businesses in our community? Who's going to do that? Right? Who's going to be there for our veterans coming home to give them all of the essential services that they need? Yes, we're going to do this. And so I just want to encourage you, in every place that you are, find a place to serve. And if you don't have a place, please contact me, the April Parker Foundation. Dedicate your time, dedicate your attention to our community, because it is great that we're building wealth for us, but there are people in this community that also need our help and our support, and we can impact generations with just a little kindness and a little inspiration. So I encourage you all, please support your community. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Big round of applause for these two remarkable, remarkable leaders. All right. Now we have kind of a fun panel. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And last but not least, I'd like to honor one of the key person for this event is Mara Freiberg-Koch for her effort, dedication to bring everyone together, and the outstanding organization. So thank you so much for everything you've done for the community.
That was a really fun surprise. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to honor Mara and the Women's Wealth Symposium. That's awesome. So now we're going to move to a section of our agenda that I think is really fun. And this is, well, first off, let me just say that I'd love to call up Teresa and April for a photo of both of them together. So April and Teresa, if you don't mind coming up to the podium with your certificates and or your award so that we can take a couple photos, that would be wonderful. So we want the Purple Diamond group photo.
I just want to give a shout out to Encore Awards, who has faithlessly, without, any hesitation, donated our awards year after year. So I do want to thank you, Mojang, for your support. You ladies make me feel taller and
And I also want to thank Trey Ta for being able to be with us today. Trey Ta has really honored us with his availability and to help present the two awards to April and to Teresa. Now we're going to have a time of being able to ask questions of a panel of our experts from this morning. So if I could ask the speakers to join me up here, Melissa Rowe, Sherelle Jackson, Dr. Asaya Ghazi. If you don't mind joining me at the front of the room, we'll begin our panel discussion. Yeah. All right. We have Sherelle and Dr. Asaya coming up. Oh, perfect, perfect. Okay, My goodness, what an incredible panel of extraordinary women. Thank you all so much for being here. Yes, right? Amazing. You know, we have heard from a whole variety of speakers this morning, all who've offered incredible insight, wisdom, expertise, and they've provided a unique vantage point, I think, from their area of expertise. But let me just also ask, just generally, how do each of you feel like we can advance women in terms of financial planning and STEM fields, improving confidence to make good decisions, creating more of those kind of aha moments? So what is your perspective? What is the most impactful thing that you feel like we should do to advance women in terms of financial planning and STEM fields? Let's start with anyone who would like to offer their thoughts.
You want to go?
Go ahead.
You sure?
Sure, I'll go. My opinion is that you need to invest in families. If you're going to teach young women, you also have to teach their mothers. And I think it's important that we invest in mothers in giving them the tools that they need to teach their children, giving them a plan in which to empower their young children with opportunities. I heard Fiona Ma speak about how her family gave her opportunities to learn, opportunities to work with them. And I think that's just not a tactic that a lot of families are focusing on, and especially if they're just trying to pay their bills, right? But we need to empower them and mentor them. So
A great perspective, great reminder. Thank you so much. And what about you, Melissa? You had some thoughts there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with all of that. I mean, I talked about how I try to teach my own children, but it has to go beyond that. My daughter last year was taking calculus or something. I don't know. She's way above whatever I was in math. And she said to me, Mom, why am I taking this? Shouldn't someone teach me about like credit cards and writing a check? And, you know, I think that we've got to help the schools help our kids. It turns out that it is offered, but it's offered senior year. But if you want to go to a university, like a UC school, you can't take it because you have to be taking trigonometry or something like that. It's just, it doesn't make sense. So yes, I agree. It has to start at the home. A lot of homes aren't educated. We have to help educate them. And then I think our schools, we've got to help our schools help the kids as well.
Yeah, so smart, Melissa. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would definitely say I agree. Because you talked about the STEM field, and that was what I studied as well, you know, in regards to the imposter syndrome. And I think that no matter what, whether you're in the STEM field or whichever field you're in, you need it does start from home. We need to have more classes in school. I agree. I also think it starts with the way we think in our mindset. And if we're not able to make the changes in our minds, we're not able to empower ourselves to move forward. So we need to build that resilience and that leadership within ourselves to help us move forward.
Oh, so smart. Thank you.
If I could just add, I think the information that came is very valuable and credible. I'd also add that separate and apart of the educational institution and what we would expect from them, I think that we have to hold the leaders, the global leaders of our nation accountable for creating a seat and a voice at the table for women. I think that our younger people are really looking to social media as a guide to who and what they can become and how they feel. And parents, unfortunately, are not the sole investor in the lives of their children. And so I believe that young girls need to be able to see the opportunities in front of them. So it's a multi-pronged approach. Men need to create opportunity for women that are currently in positions so that they can move to the top. And at the same token, young girls will then have an opportunity to see an example of who and what they can become. And so I think that there's a responsibility at the top for leadership today to create space for women to be able to elevate. And those leadership programs need to come through these major corporations, big pharma, technology, and all of the various industry where they are primarily controlled by men, although women are climbing the corporate ladder. And once the men create the space for the women to be able to excel at an appropriate rate, not just by a title that appears to be equitable, but the income, the seat, and the voice where they truly can create some impact. Small girls will be able to see that, and they will have something to aspire to be.
I love that. Thank you. I am the U.S. Senator on the World Business Angels Forum. So I represent the United States in the World Business Angels Investment Forum. And right now, less than 2% of all investment funding goes to women. And if you are a woman of color, it drops to 0.5% of all investment dollars around the world are allocated to women business owners and founders that are of color. So we are at a tipping point, I think, to advocate and champion for women financially, educationally, socioeconomically, educationally, as well as individually. So it's about working with individual, but it's also about working with the systems that we're a part of. So brilliant. Thank you, ladies. What are some of the most critical challenges that you think women face at this particular moment in time? I will admit I did a TEDx talk about this just a couple of months ago, and it is overwhelming if you do too much research about the challenges that women face. But I'd be interested from our panelists, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that women face right now? And I am going to tip your mic a bit because we can't hear you.
Oh,
Here you
okay.
go.
There we go.
Okay.
So you want me to go like this? Okay. Well, thank you. I actually was going to answer that question because I think it's really interesting. I believe that as women, one of our biggest challenges is we cannot find enough mentors. There is a serious lack of mentorship for women out there. We don't see enough of our own women in positions that we aspire to be in. And I think that if we are able to each one of us in this room, if each one of us can mentor another woman and help them to achieve the goals that they want to achieve and help them to reach to that potential, to amplify their potential, they're going to be able to make it. But we need to support them. And so there's that lack of mentorship and a lack of support. I also believe another challenge that women still see today and that we're always like constantly noticing is that we still don't have enough support systems in place. At least that's the perspective that I've seen, right? And we're in this room, but are we truly supporting one another? And so I feel that if we can support one another, we can celebrate, like I said before in my talk, celebrating each other, and we get mentors to work with us and get to those positions, like what you were saying earlier. We want to see more women in these positions. We can see them when they get that mentorship.
I love that. And I will to build on that. In Leadership Global, we have a mentoring program. And I have seen women appointed to corporate board positions. I've seen women move from a senior vice president to the C-suite. I've seen women step out into an entrepreneurial journey where they were able to double and triple their revenue through mentorship. And I am such a big believer that it takes all of us as a community to lift each other up. So I love that. Really smart. Who else? Who else has a thought about the biggest challenges that we're facing? Yeah, please, Teresa.
Population that we serve. Population that we serve are coming from nothing. So when they start to think about the ability of even having something, it's almost unfulfilled in their minds. And so one of the things that I think is very important is we surround our organization with lots of strong women mentors and men who come in and give them a sense of what it is to be, they don't even know how to use this word, normal living. And trying to give them a sense of that they can accomplish something. I have a young lady who just got her GED, and she's going to be able to walk across the stage to be able to receive a diploma. She could not even believe, having been in the system since she's 3 years of age, that this could ever happen for her. And so if we don't encourage them to have that dream, we're going to have more and more people who are falling through the cracks. And I think that one of the things that we have discovered over the 30-some years that we've been involved is that when we give them a chance, they come back and share with us what success looks like for them, whether it's buying a home, whether it's being married, whether it's having finally graduated from college. Those are the successes that we as women and as the business community need to support. We look at those of us who have gone to college and gone through an educational program, don't always stop to think about what it's like never to have had that chance, never to have anybody say to you, you can do that. So we need more encouragement.
I would like to add that I really appreciate what you're saying, Teresa. And, you know, what I'd like to add is that it really goes across the spectrum whether you come from nothing and you're economically impoverished or you are the elite and the wealth. What I find about women, especially as an executive and leadership coach, is that the common denominator of the struggle is fear and low self-esteem. And it doesn't have anything to do with what you look like, how much money you make, or your job title. Women universally are afraid and insecure. And so when you think about the challenges that we are facing as women, it is exactly what you described in terms of the work that we were sharing that we love to do. And that's moving women from fear to courageous and insecure to confidence. Because until we can really get there, our ability to catapult into the greatest leader that we can be is going to be stifled by the way that we feel about ourselves. And so I think that embarking upon programs, coaching, community support, education, and just overall relational values will help conquer those two great things that I believe impact women and our ability to really accomplish what it is that we desire.
And what else, ladies? What other challenges do you think? I love that, Sherelle. Thank you. Melissa?
I think you're spot on. Before my husband and I started having kids, I said, if we have girls, we've got to give them confidence, because every woman that I've seen that has struggled, they don't have confidence. To your point, it doesn't matter where they came from, but confidence is so huge. I don't even know how you do that, except every day I just try to tell my kids that you're worthy, that I love you, that you can do whatever you want. Like, I don't know what else you do, but I think we need more people telling more people that. And the other thing that I would say, which just drives me crazy, is we have to change the language earlier. So when my daughter was in first grade, we actually went camping with some families. I'm sitting around the fire and one of the dads says, "Oh, you work?" "Yeah, I don't let my wife work." And I was like, "You don't let her?" I don't. And then a little while later, one of the boys was crying. "Oh, stop crying like a girl." I'm like, well, he's a boy. He's crying. The language is so, or, boys will be boys. We'll teach them to be better. Don't tell them not to act that way to other people. You know what I mean? So, and then lastly, I'll just say my daughter's an athlete, my older one, and a mom recently just said, well, there's real opportunities for men that play sports to get into, real like Major League Baseball and all this type of stuff. And I said, well, there's real opportunities for women that play sports too. You learn a lot of things. And by the way, you can go to college and get an education, and that can help you. So I just think that the language has not changed for these kids, and we're still, and I hear it every day, and I'm just the person in my neighborhood that is constantly changing, like telling people, and I feel bad sometimes, and then I don't feel bad, right? But it's starting from a young age.
Yeah.
If I could add one other thing, I think we need to, I think one of the challenges is that we don't ask for help, because truly I think we don't believe that anyone can help us. And I once heard Darius Daniels say that he needed a therapist to deal with his past and a coach to get him where he needs to be, and to quote Sherelle, and an advocate to open doors for you, to knock down doors and put you in situations where you otherwise may not be able to see them. So, I've learned so much, and I think that those things are critical for all of us.
So smart. I mean, it's such wisdom. I will say that through this TEDx talk research that I was telling you about, I learned that in almost every single underdeveloped country in the world, women cannot own property. There are still vast majorities of the world where women can't be educated. There are still incredible, vast societies, cultures, countries where women have no choice about who they marry and when they get married. Child marriage is still alive and well. And sex trafficking is happening in your backyard. And it is remarkable to me to see that women still don't have the right over their own body. They don't have the right over their psychological well-being, their financial well-being, their education, or their ability to choose who they marry, what they do to make money, how they invest that money, even if they're allowed to have money. So in my mind, we still have a long way to go. And I feel like sometimes that is a reality that is so distant from us. We may not be aware of it, but in maybe now not the majority, but I would say in a shocking percentage of the world, women are still considered property. They are not allowed to own property. They are not allowed to be educated. They are not allowed to drive. They are not allowed to choose their mates. They're not allowed to even choose when they get married. Most children that are part of a child marriage That happens under the age 14. We're not talking about under 18, we're talking about under 14. So still a lot of progress that I think needs to be made. All right, one more question, then we'll open it up for all of you. So all of you represent different industries, different experiences, different areas of expertise. How have women's occupations in your specific field changed in the last 5 years? What do you think will happen in your particular field for women's empowerment over the next 10 years?
Well, I'll start with them. In my occupation as a finance and operating officer for over 25 years, and primarily male-dominated industries, as I shared, what I am seeing is that they are creating space for women with the job title that leads the perception of leadership. And I intentionally say it that way. Because what I found, especially in the CPA industry, is that many women were given the job title of partner without any equity. And in some instances, without even a pay increase. But the perception was that they were now had an equal position. But the reality was that they didn't. And so what I am seeing is that the opportunity to title up is available. And for women who are willing to advocate on their behalf, that they're able to see some of those opportunities. But I do still see that there's an equitable disproportionate when it comes to women and men. And so there's still a great deal of opportunity in that space in the industries that I've worked in.
I love that, Sherelle. Thank you. What about you other ladies?
Well, our women absolutely feel that they're not empowered. And so trying to give them that feeling of empowerment has to be by, one of the things we encourage them to do is go to work. I shared with somebody at the table, someone said to me, well, where do they work? I said, I'm astounded that I have clients. Our median age is about 32, which is usually much higher than people realize. With someone who has never worked a day in their life, ever worked a day in their life. They have not done a resume. They don't know what it is to do that. And to sit down with them to help them understand, this is your step to begin the walk. And if we don't begin that for them while they're with us, in that short time that they're with us, they walk away just thinking that they're not empowered, that they don't have the ability. But when they go for that first job, no matter what the job is, and they come back with the first check that they've ever had. I mean, I've had a woman walk in and say, I have never had a paycheck in my life, ever. And then they have to budget. They must budget that money, right? As Melissa said, part has to go to what's necessary, part has to go to savings, and then you have discretional money. And that's how you live. And that gives them power. It's the first time that they actually see that I'm in charge of what I'm doing.
I love that, Teresa. And you really talk about physical safety. You're talking about access to healthcare, which a lot of women don't have. There's still healthcare disparities that are deep and real all through America. So getting access to physical safety, getting access to healthcare, getting access to the basic human rights to work is still a hurdle for a lot of women. So what about, yeah.
Add something to that. April, when you spoke today, and well, I'm not going to say I don't want to do this, but I would like to put the women on the panel on the spot and say, Teresa, the point that you just made about the inability to even see the visibility of forging forward for the women is based on them not having access. And I think that it would be very important if maybe each one of us said yes to an opportunity to come in and speak to those women, because they really do need to see an example of it. And I believe that this is one of those times where the little red hen could say yes.
Yeah.
And so if there's an opportunity for me to come in and speak to those women, and for the others of us to come in and speak to those women, and to create programmatic opportunity that you don't have to pay for us to just come in and spend an hour and speak life into their spirit, it'll begin to motivate and inspire them to know that they can move from where they are. So I would love to say yes to that.
Yeah, same.
All right. That's awesome. That's great. Well, I'm going to move over to all of you so that we have a little bit more interaction. You've listened an awful lot today, which I'm grateful for. I'm so glad that all of you have been so respectful and so attentive. It's been absolutely a pleasure. But we'd like to hear from you. So what questions do you have that you'd like to ask the panelists? Oh my goodness, so many. Yes, ma'am.
I think that we as women have to get over this jealousy thing. That there is enough of anything and everything for everybody. So if I help you, that is not going to diminish what I get. Actually, it's going to do the opposite. My mother taught me that if my hand is closed, nothing goes out, but guess what? Nothing comes in. So I think that we have to look at one another with, we can do this together. Instead of, who she thinks she is. And
Thank you, my dear. I love that.
Mine was actually more of a comment, and it could be that Dr. Ghazi also was doing this more and extensively when she goes through her 4 pieces. But when you talked about invest in self, and I understand the education part of it goes back also to what Sherelle was saying, invest in your health.
Yes.
Because that's so crucial at any age to take care of yourself.
I
Yeah.
think that for many of us in this room, a lot of what was said, we've heard before, right? We have. But there is a population of people that have never heard any of these things. What is self-care when I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and get my family together? And so not only do we need to be examples, but we do need to show this to people and teach them how to do it. It seems simple, but it is very hard. I consider myself a very smart person. I'm an extrovert, probably an extra extrovert. But these are skills that I practice every day to try to master. I'm still creating boundaries. I'm still taking my self-care. Thank God I have a family and a husband that supports giving me that space, but it is incredibly hard. And we shouldn't take this for lightly just to tell someone, oh, just take self-care. They don't know how to.
Yeah. So smart. There was somebody over here.
Do each of you have a mentor, and what has that looked like for each of you?
I'm going to say, to Perry's point, I never had women who actually wanted to invest in me. Maybe my persona, my avatar, my imposter syndrome says that I got it all together. But I come into spaces and I look and I ask women, will you be my mentor? Girl, please. No. Mm-mm. And I don't understand it. I'm still trying to figure it out. At Sherelle's last event, I asked the question, like, how do you have those types of conversations? Because I've been in spaces and I don't know if it's just the Black women, probably not, but there is this sense of jealousy and competition. And I'm a collaborator. I believe we are all stronger together. And I'm hoping that Sherelle will take me on as a coach. Because honestly, my experience has been very off-put. Like most people kind of, and maybe she'll coach me on that too. But I think we all need coaches. We all need therapists, call it whatever you want. And we all, like, I'm just stealing all your stuff. And we all need people around us that support us. After Sherelle had an amazing event yesterday. After I left your event, I think I spoke your whole speech because it was so activating because I was able to speak to another woman what you had spoken into me. And so I just want to thank you for that. And we need to take opportunities to invest in ourselves by looking to other women for their knowledge and their inspiration. And I will honestly say, I have never had that in my life. And I'm so inspired and proud to meet you. And it has encouraged me to continue to seek out that type of support for myself.
I love that. Holy cow.
I would say I have had the pleasure of having mentors in my life. And what a mentor looks like for me is not necessarily what it looks like to everyone else. There are different stages, and I know you heard me say this, in my opinion, of how you have other people advocate on your behalf. And so mentors are individuals, in my opinion, that you give permission to tell you the truth about yourself. 3 of my mentors are in this room, and all 3 of those individuals have actually been my employees. And so to be a mentor doesn't always have to look like somebody who the world perceives as above you, but it has to be individuals who will walk alongside of you to help you become the best version of yourself. and Dara and Deirdre and Trina are my mentors, even though they have also been my employees. They are my partners, and they are a strong portion of my being. I've had mentors who I give permission to speak into my life from a business perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from a relational perspective. I don't just have one mentor. And then I have sponsors, individuals who will open doors for me. I just met one last night. Linda Fisk, in the midst of a 24-hour day, has introduced me to a number of people already advocating on my behalf and opening doors for me. But what I will say is, A, we talked about this, so let's get some time on the calendar. But more importantly, B, you have to be willing to open yourself up and be vulnerable. Mentorship and the advancement of mentorship is about hearing the things about yourself that you don't do well. It's about looking at where you have gaps and opportunities to improve. Mentorship is hard. So if you want a mentor, you really have to be open to being vulnerable and to learn and hear some things that you might not like.
Oh, gosh, such wisdom right there. Incredible. I love that. And yes, please.
Yes. Just to answer that question too, not only do I have mentors, I believe that your support system, your friends can also be your mentors. And I'm lucky to say that I have friends who are also mentors for me, but also I'm a mentor. And I like to give myself as a mentor to people because I know a lot of people out there are looking for that mentorship, especially women to women. We don't have enough of that. And so that's something I'm a big proponent of, is to help mentor other women, other people in being the best versions of themselves. So when I'm thinking about mentorship for me, I'm not looking at someone who's got a higher position than me, or someone who's already done 20 years of service. That's great. I have that too. But I'm also looking for people to give me feedback so I can be a better person. I have friends in the room who give me feedback and tell me where I need to improve. And that's my mentorship as well. And then, of course, I provide mentorship. And I've got a lot of people that tell me, hey, you're a mentor to me, and I learn from you. So I think you can even take somebody that that inspires you, and that could be your mentor as well. And so there's many ways and many definitions, and that's
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to make one comment, but still, you guys are welcome to continue to answer. One thing April said really struck me, and that is, people feel like, oh, you've got it all together. What do you mean a mentor for you? You got to be kidding. In Leadership Global, we have some of the most unbelievably inspiring leaders all around the world that are part of the organization. There are women that are household names that you would all know that are part of the organization and who come up to me on literally a weekly basis saying, I am broken. I am struggling. I need help. And in fact, one of the women over the holidays contacted me personally and said, Linda, I'm really struggling during the holidays. This is a time where my husband committed suicide and my son commit suicide, and I'm not making it. I'm not making it through. No one would know this about this person. She is a very well-known public speaker worldwide. She is on the biggest stages in the world, and no, she doesn't tell that story. And I said, what do you need? How can I help? And we got a support group together of 5 women that now meet every week to check in on each other. We all need help, ladies. We all need support and help. And sometimes mentorship looks like an accountability group that meets every week. Sometimes it's someone that you have an appointment with for 2 hours every month, and you are clear about the objectives of that meeting. And sometimes it looks like when you need advice and guidance and counsel, you go to that person that you really trust and can be open and vulnerable with. So be sure you're also clear about what the boundaries and what the structure of that mentoring relationship looks like. Anybody else? Yeah, Melissa.
Comment first that I think it was Margaret Thatcher. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I think it was Margaret Thatcher that said there's a special place in hell for women that don't help other women. And I truly believe that. And I think as just a matter of time of being in an industry, at some point people look to you as a mentor. And so I've got a lot of younger, not a lot, because there's not a lot, but I have younger women that come to me looking for mentorship, which I want to do. I'm at that stage in my life where that's what I want to do. But I tell you what, I went and sought out my own mentor last 2 years because, to your point,
I just felt like I needed something. I had a new position. I needed some help. I needed someone to give it to me straight. I needed someone that had, walked in my shoes or had done something similar, and I couldn't do it alone. And I was having imposter syndrome 27 years into my career that I've just crushed all my goals, right? And I was still feeling like I shouldn't be here. I'm in the wrong place. I'm not supposed to be in this room. And then she said, get up to the table and lean right in, just like the book says. And you're supposed to be there. You're there for a reason. And she wrote on a sticky note, you're here for a reason. And I put it on my computer and I've had it there ever since. And I have to remind myself that 29 years into a career, again, of doing all the things that I've supposed to been doing. So I just think it's never too late to have a mentor, and that, at certain stage, you got to help the other come along.
100%. Who else has questions out here?
So I heard this mentorship. So I want to just share a few of my comments. So my name is Sherry Hu. So I'm one of the board members of our proud WWS Symposium. And one of the things I want to share about mentors are I am very fortunate. I get a lot of great mentors in my life. So I'm very grateful. And so every time I reflect back, why I got so lucky, I got a lot of good mentors. And I just want to share a few tips with you. So a little bit about myself. I actually have a lot of education. Oh, one of the books, we gave as a gift was by me. Okay. So I'm trying to say is I'm elected officer as well. And as an immigrant to the United States at my late 20s, it's very hard to do as a woman of color, Asians. So one of the things is mentors is I want to say three things to share with you. One thing is both men and women can be mentors, and not just women help women. We can have men to help women as well. I'm so grateful we have so many great men here to support us and be the mentor for us. So that's one thing I want to bring out, because actually most of my great mentors are men. I have to say this way. So they are all like a higher position than me. I'm working for them when I was doing engineering job, when I was doing other job, when I got into this elected officers. It's all like men who mentored me, opened doors for me, like not everybody, but a lot of men. I think the reason is normally in this society, men held more important positions. And for women trying to get to the top or get to be better, we have to understand how to get into men's work. So that's one thing I want to share. So be understanding of that. Second thing is reading books. Books can be your mentors, because I constantly listen to a lot of self-promotion books. I'm sure you all have a very good books. So the tips shared in the books, you learn those things. That can help you so much in a very simple and a quick way. Sometimes you try to get some information, it's hard. Thank you for that.
That she donated these books to us. And if anyone wants to contact me personally, we'll be happy to mail you one until we're out. So that's Women's Symposium at Outlook.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mara. So that's my second thing I want to share. Like books can be mentors, and even those superstars, celebrities, like people you see as a role model, you never even get a chance to know them, can be your mentors. I just give a quick example. My son, who's a sophomore in high school, he likes Taylor Swift so much. And Taylor Swift is his mentor, is his advisor, because Taylor has read a lot of songs talking about her life. She's very successful. So I actually feel so much peace in my mind when I know my son wants to, learn from Taylor, do whatever Taylor is doing. So that's one thing I want to share, the mentors. Third thing I want to share, the quick way to get a good mentor actually is paid services. Sometimes you ask people to help you, they don't have time, they don't know you, they don't want to help you. I do pay professional services to help me. Like I pay for the counselors, I pay those things. So in order to get a quick advice, sometimes I need a panel of advisors, because I have a question, but I don't think one person can give me all my information. So I pay professional, I pay 3 professionals. I talk about same questions. They all give me their advices. So I kind of evaluate and make my own decisions. So that's another thing is becoming a membership of a great organization. That could be kind of like a paid services to gather mentors. I actually just thought of the last thing I want to share is like a Myra, like Laura. We work together on this symposium together. We trying to put this program. It takes a lot of effort. So during the work we work together, we may have something we need to discuss. We may have a lot of great volunteers to help. So this working process is also providing the mentoring during this working process. So that's just a few things I want to share with you, like how we get mentors, mentorship, those kind of experience. Thank you.
All right, we have time for one or two more questions. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I actually do have a question. I just want to say thank you for all of you who shared. It was very insightful. The question I have for our panelists is, what do you do to show self-care, or like how do you rest actively, I guess, through the week? And what was the last thing you did? When was it? And what is the next thing you're going to do? And when will you do it?
Well, I'm old, so I need to go first before I forget everything you just said. Because my brain.
You're welcome to.
But what I will say is, I'm very good at self-care now. I wasn't always, and I would just say to you, give yourself some grace, because don't you have some small kids?
Well, teenage girls.
Yeah,
That's harder.
that's still it's a lot. It's a lot. But at this stage of my life, my children are grown. And so for me, self-care is vast in terms of what I do. In terms of one of the main things I do is I take a bubble bath regularly every single day, unless I'm in a space that doesn't have a bathtub when I'm traveling. But I take a bubble bath. That is very important to me. My bathroom is my sanctuary. I pray every single day. That is the way I start my day, is I start my day with prayer, with thanksgiving, and with offering up myself and with expectations of what my day will look like. And then I make sure I do things that I can afford to do now that I couldn't always afford to do, like getting a massage. But one of the things that self-care looks like is that you're not scurrying to get it done. In other words, rushing to get your hair done, rushing to get your nails and feet done, rushing to go do something. That is not self-care. That's more like maintenance. But if you're going to do self-care, it's taking time out for yourself. So it's exercising for me, meditation, but that's what it looks like for me. And I schedule my time for myself. Like I literally put it on my calendar. Do not schedule anything. That's my time for myself. So
What
I'm
about
intentional.
any of you other ladies? Love that.
Now I'm going to tell people what I do when I go into that room. So for me is I also block out the morning before I start my day. I used to wake up on my phone and just go until I passed out at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I realized that I actually had a stroke last January, and it forced me to slow down. And I had to make some decisions that I had to prioritize my first. I was a mom. I've been a mom more than I've been anything, and that's been my greatest job. But it took, I always put the cares and the needs of my children before myself. But when I had that stroke, I realized that if I didn't take care of myself, I would not be able to help them and support them. So I have about 2 to 3 hours in the morning where I am investing in myself with prayer, with reading, with meditation, with my Peloton, my music, and it makes me a better person. Because without it, I think that I'm not a good person because I have all that pent up frustration and energy that I'm not taking care of myself.
Did you have something you wanted to say also, Dr. Ghazi? Oh,
I wanted to say, but I did treat myself to a 2-hour massage yesterday because I needed it.
Way to go.
With
Dr.
everything
Ghazi.
I've been going through lately, I needed it, and I'm constantly reminded, even by my mom's doctors and nurses right now, you need to take care of yourself, because if you're gonna care for someone else, you need to care for yourself first, because you cannot care for anybody when you are not taking care of yourself. And so my self-care kind of went off kilter when my mom got into the hospital. Oops. And I wasn't I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't eating well for a while, and I just kind of got back on the horse, and I said, no, I got to start getting these massages because that's what my mom wants me to do, to take care of myself. I need to focus. I don't take naps. I'm 41, so maybe that'll change. I just turned 41 the other day, so.
I will say that I think that self-care looks different for every person, right? So for some people, it's gonna be, I went out and did a 3-mile run and I felt awesome. Others are gonna be, I got a bubbles bath. Some are gonna be prayer. Some is gonna be, I just had a 10-minute conversation with my BFF and she just always lifts me up and I just feel connected and happy. And sometimes it's, I'm shutting my computer at 6 o'clock. I'm gonna go have dinner with my husband. That can be self-care. So it's about having intention about what really feeds you, I think. We have one more question over here.
Yes. I want to say thank you for having this panel, for you moderator. It has been so enlightening. And what I want to say as an immigrant here in the United States, many women, and I know that some of us are here, but many women out there don't know how to access a community where they can get financial literacy. If any of you have any information, could please give it to me and give it to everybody out there, all the women out there that need that. Thank you so much. Okay, and then, yeah.
This is so important. And I just want to thank everyone. I know it sounds like we're on the wraps up, but we're going to keep talking till we got the room. So until we're done. But while more does, remain to be done around town, around the world, let's take note from these trailblazers. Let's learn from their prolific lives and just the iconicness of paving the way for us. Let's think about this and stay the course when things get tough or bleak. I want everyone right now, if you're in the room, and if not, you imaginary, grab your purple crystal, and this will remind you of today and all those great things, so that when times do feel dark and tough, you'll see this and go, I can do it. They did it, and I can do it. And I've been in this room for 7 years, and now I've done it. So everyone, get one of these, put it in your purse if you're in town. And if not, grab your imaginary purple crystal and wear that on your shoulder, wear it in your heart. But, so I just wanted to say that, but also, and I'm gonna give you some resources, but I wanna get back to money, because that's my specialty. And female investors do have a weakness. They think they're not good. They think that they believe they're not good investors. I'm gonna stand up. Thank you so much. I actually, okay. Thanks. All right. Well, I do feel passionate. I looked up some statistics from a big company called Fidelity. So they touch a lot of households, a lot of pension funds. I feel awkward standing in front of you because I'm so gracious you're here. But it needs to be heard. Girls, women, and men, you can do this. But women, I want to emphasize and highlight the facts and the proof in the pudding, and that is straight from Fidelity. Women outperform men trading their own accounts by 40 basis points per year. That's 0.4, that's almost 0.5% per year. And if you're doing that year over year over year over year, how many percentage points more would your portfolio or savings look than your brother's? Just saying. That was just in 2021. I'm going to get to the next statistic because they just kept blowing my mind. Sorry about those. Okay. Yes. Working with countless females, my team and I, we've discovered that women are savvy investors. A lot of these, especially Melissa Rowe, paved the way out here in Southern California for a lot of female education over the last 20 years. So we are so delighted that you're here. The same Fidelity study reports that only 1/3 of women surveyed see themselves as investors. You are an investor in your life. You are an investor when you decide which bread to buy on the shelf. You are a spender, you are a consumer, and you are the biggest chance that you have to pave your own way. So keep it up, keep it up. We differ when it comes to investing a little bit, however, because we think some may think, not in this room, that women are the weaker sex when it comes to investing, but female investors actually capture stronger rates of return over their male counterparts, which we've noted. In addition, women have been making significant gains accumulating assets. Someone said 7 billion, trillion. Yes, transfer of wealth is happening. 67% of female investors surveyed are saving beyond their retirement accounts for the first time ever in history. So these are great statistics, up from only 44% in 2018. Women's savings double digit jumped during COVID when we were making less. Women are phenomenal. Meanwhile, nearly 50% have saved $20,000 or more outside their retirement accounts and have started emergency funds. And 20% of them have $100,000 or more in savings today. So who runs the world? Girls, just like Beyonce said. But, you know, we have to get the needle moving and get women understanding that we can make good decisions. Just get some more information so you can feel confident that, yeah, I'm making that right decision for my family. You know, I don't need to shop here. I could shop there. I know what a sale is. I know how to double my money. Put $1 in the account. My employer puts $1 in the account. Doubled money. So there's so many smart, good things that we can do. And I just want to empower all of you to take this with you for the rest of the year and beyond. So thank you. That was a little bit.
All right, we are wrapping up our time today. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge and honor Mara Feinberg-Koch. She has been unbelievable. She's been the visionary for this entire event, as well as the founder of this Women's Wealth Symposium, not just the event, but the organization. If you're looking for a community to learn about financial wealth, financial creation, financial prosperity, Mara is your lady. So thank you so much, Mara. And also thank you to all the volunteers, all of the people that put in time and energy into making this happen today. So you met Shirley, but we have so many folks who were a part. Laura Knapp. Laura, can you stand up? Thank you so much for everything you've done. Shirley. And yes, and Sherry, come on, you two. All the volunteers would love to have you come up so we can honor you and thank you for everything that you're doing. Our wonderful photography crew, our AV crew, all the people that allowed for live streaming. So yes, Aaron, come on up, and really want to appreciate and thank all the volunteers that were part of today's event. Did you guys feel like today was worth it? Worth half a day on Friday? All right. Well, thank you so much. And Mara, I'm going to turn it over to you for last words.
These women said, Women's Symposium must go on. So for that, I am so grateful. And we are in need of more helpers like these fantastic ladies. So anyone can give an hour, a minute, $1, $1 million. We'll take it. So please visit us at wssocal.org and follow us on social media. Let us know if you'd like to volunteer. Any donation is 100% tax deductible. Talk to your tax professional. And Laura, thank you so much. She was burning the midnight oil, helping us with those QR code scanners, and communicating with all these gorgeous women we're standing in front of that we need to honor. Please stand. Please come in front with us. Thank you so much. So I would like to, have a great photo op. Linda Fisk, you're freaking amazing. Where'd you go? She flew in from, was it Dallas? Dallas. And they canceled their flight because they're in having hurricanes, tornadoes, something I don't know about. And she got the last flight out of the state to be here on time. I'm so grateful for that. You did an amazing job today. Thank you so much. All of our program participants and volunteers, Dr. Sherry Hu, thank you for making the trip down here. Elena, she came from Florida. You get the longest trip. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you next year. And March 8th is International Women's Day. So sport your purple coming up. And March 8th, 2024, we're looking at our 8th annual Women's Wealth Symposium. So 2004. Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay, I would be remiss to not say, please open your Instagram app and follow us at Women's Wealth Symposium, all one word. We've been posting all day. Share it all over your story. Tag people that should know about the organization. If you've seen me walking around, that's what I've been doing, posting all over our Instagram, going live. So please help share it and let's get some more traction on their Instagram. Thank you.
No, she is a Women's Symposium marketing pro performance services. She's been fantastic.